Oh, it's at the wrong sample.
SDP.
Why didn't it convert the sample rate?
What?
Adam Wilde and Jesse
Oh,
Blake.
that's sick.
Is that on the recording?
Yeah, it can be. It can be. I can.
All right, that is a slowed down intro.
Yeah, it's at the wrong sample rate.
How did that happen, Jesse? I don't know. I don't
It's
even know what that is.
like it's just audio jargon. If I just talk about it,
Nah,
it's at 48 or it's at 48, but it should be at 44.1.
So Jesse
Who do
and
we
Adam,
Jesse?
happy Thursday, or as I like to call it, Friday Junior. High five.
All right.
Way
Hey,
to go.
Jesse, you got something cool with our 5K Pride Get Real movement thing.
Yeah.
You've been jonesing to show this off.
Yeah, so we're at the Steve. You can just wait for it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Looking over his shoulder like it's a math test.
We're at the actual the finish line of the 5K. Are raising funds for the Get Real movement and Rainbow Railroad. And our last piece that we had to add to the puzzle was Pride merch. And this is our last push. So we teamed up with an artist named Joe Dabney. And Joe has done some merch in the past, some Pride merch in the past. And we commissioned her to do this little design for SDPN. And I'm very excited to show you guys. It's going to be on a whole bunch of hoodies and t-shirts and stickers and everything. You can go to sdpnshop.ca. You'll see it right there. Our new 2024 Pride merch collection. Bring it out, Maddie.
Oh,
Beg your
Wow.
pardon. That's sexy as hell.
that's
Right?
a great shot.
So shout out Joe for doing this new
Joe.
Pride logo for us. So we'll have this in perpetuity on our site all year round, not just for this today. It'll be living there forever. And anytime we make sales on this, we'll donate the proceeds to the Get Real movement. But yeah, go get it. It's
Wow.
so sick.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh
no,
my God.
I want that.
By the way-
right friggin' now. Oh, and it comes in all the colors.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh!
there you go.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
You know, I always want to look good in a heathered gray, but I can never pull it off. I need to have bolder colors with my skin complexion. You ever think about that?
Not really,
You
but
should.
you know, no, I understand what you're saying.
There's
And-
navy, there's red, there's
Look at that.
true royal as opposed to fake royal.
Yeah.
Athletic heather
No new royals.
and white and black. So these are great.
Wow.
These are beautiful.
Can you click the navy one? I just want to
Sure.
see.
Yeah, I think I might get the
Just
navy
wanna
one
see.
too.
Maybe.
Ooh.
Oh, that one's
That's
good too.
that's Steve right there.
It's got a purple tinge to it, you know?
What about-
little bit of royalty.
What about true royal? Yeah, I want to see true royal.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
This is the trans flag flaming puck thing, but we also have the rainbow one. So
It's very
we have
cool.
that one as
What about
well.
Very
red?
good.
What about
Oh,
red?
you want to see red?
I want to see red.
Thank you to Joe Dabney, by the way,
Ooh.
for putting this together.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Go back to black.
All right.
Steven.
Steven. There's a lot of people listening. We got to get to
black's my
stuff that
favorite.
people can listen to.
Yeah. So we're still taking donations up until tomorrow for the virtual 5K. They're obviously taking donations always. You can always donate to the Get Real movement or Rainbow Railroad, but specifically for our 5K, donations end tomorrow. I think at noon is the cutoff of when we're trying to raise funds for the 5K. So hit the link in the description.
You
donate
better.
to a great cause.
You better hit the link.
Or buy some merch, and we'll just send the proceeds right to Get Real.
Mm-hmm. I didn't hear anything you just said. I want that shirt.
Hey, another thing we should mention, obviously, do we have a drop date on the Philip Roenick episode, sir?
It's out.
It
It's
went
out.
up yesterday.
It did go up yesterday? I didn't even know. I thought it was supposed to come out today.
No, it came out this morning.
Okay, about this morning. Ah!
Yeah.
You see?
I
It
thought
did come
came
out today.
Yesterday.
No,
No, we launched it. It launched today. We teased it yesterday. Like we threw out clips from the episode on Twitter yesterday, but we were like, "Hey, it's coming out tomorrow."
So you mean to tell me I wasn't paying attention and I sent the clip to Michael Bublé instead of the full episode?
Oh my goodness!
Oh, don't trip over that name you just dropped.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Philip Roenick, Alan Walsh, and the way we set this up was it's Philip's first interview since the press conference at his signing. He has not done any other media, and Alan talked about negotiation, and I think it's kind of pertinent for free agency. If you're interested in how agents look at free agency, this is a great way to get a sense of that. Because could Philip Roenick have made more? Yeah,
yeah.
a lot more.
Right-handed shot on the open market.
Yeah. But There's a whole bunch of other factors that go into things, and this will benefit your favorite team by knowing this stuff, because not everybody is just going to sign at market rates. Some will sign below, and then Philip comes on and talks a little bit too, and he's just seems like a great
Philip's
guy.
there. Whatever.
Yeah,
It's really about Alan.
Yeah, it's about Alan negotiating, isn't it? Isn't that what it's all about?
Well, if you're a fan of anybody, like Alan sort of shows you how the sausage is made.
Yep.
You'll like it if you're a Canucks fan. You'll like it if you're a Red Wings fan and miss him and want to be sad.
Yeah.
You'll like it.
Yep.
You'll like it a lot.
The other thing I want to say is that tomorrow night on the SDPN channel, it will be the Steve Dangle Podcast Round 1 draft stream, followed by the next morning a round 2 through 7 draft stream.
No.
I'm kidding.
I was like, oh my God. Oh.
No, we'd never do that to you. But it will be round 1 tomorrow night, and
We
we're gonna
will have
fun.
coverage.
Yeah.
Like, I'll make a video. Holy man, first round
I did that
can
for
do
Steve because I know he's not right now, but with the kid, it's like, everything's like, I don't know what day it is.
Oh my God. First round, I'd be fine. Second round is when every pick starts to be like me flipping and going, oh, fucking.
It becomes Tinder.
This is, yeah.
like,
I don't friggin' know.
Swipe. That's
You don't know.
What's
the fourth
your-
rounder your team picked? You don't know.
What's your perception on the media type who becomes a draft expert a day before the draft?
Annoying.
When there's the people out there who all season long, they work their tails off to cover these prospects, and they know guys left, right, and center all down the draft. And then you get the media type who's in there just day before.
Hot taking it? Yeah.
This guy, they took 5th. Screw him. I hate that stuff.
Well, yeah. Well, meanwhile, there's us. We get the Elite Prospects book, and I go, thank you.
No,
Cam.
but I don't.
We're not
So
pretending
here's
to
who
be
this guy is.
there.
We're not pretending to be.
No,
Sit
you're
there
right.
and pretend like I watched a second of this guy play hockey. Like I've ever seen him skate in my life.
Yeah,
I do
will
my
say-
research that week and I do the best I can to comment, but I'm not pretending I know.
I will say I am better researched this year than I am last year. Like I've been reading up on everyone and watching like video. Holy shit, I want the Leafs to get TJ Ginla so bad. Oh, it's not going to happen. It's not going to
so
happen.
far.
They picked 23rd.
So-
but oh my God, I want him.
I think what's interesting is that everybody feels like they have to. You don't have to. What we
Like
what you
know
do.
everything about the draft?
You stand on the shoulders of giants. you listen to the elite prospects guys like Cam. Cam was so good last
Yeah.
episode. If you haven't checked it out, we even isolated the clip on our YouTube channel. He was spectacular. Scott Wheeler is going to come on next week and do a little draft day recap.
Is he then?
We don't know which day yet, but he's going to do winners, losers, and some sleepers and that sort of thing. So that'll be fun. And then
Merrick.
Merrick, who's an encyclopedia, but like, and Corey Proman and some of these other guys. It's like I don't know, man. That's like your thing. Like I don't. That's cool. Like, and I'll listen to you. I'll defer to the expert, and I'm okay with that.
You start screaming about the Leafs after every game, then we're gonna, I'm gonna move some furniture. But until then,
When Shane Wright falls 4 spots, that's a story for me.
Who had that the day before? I think that was Pronman or like
It was
morning.
Bob
of.
McKenzie.
Well, it was
Yeah,
Bob
Bob did-
McKenzie confirmed Pronman.
No, because
I'm almost positive.
No, Bob McKenzie's. Remember when his draft list came out and he didn't have Shane Wright at 1, and it was a big deal.
Well, not at 1, but then people were like, "Oh, well, he's going at 2." He
Now-
fell to 4. That
Now,
was crazy.
Bobby Mack said on the
Who?
Send Draft episode that because they do their picks, that Celebrini is probably better than Bedard.
One thing we didn't talk to Cam Robinson about is he said he's I don't want to misquote him, the best draft year collegiate player they've ever scouted, which puts him above players like Jack Eichel, Jack Hughes, anyone named
he
Jack.
mentioned
He's
it.
better than him.
You mentioned it.
Dude. That's really high
That's
praise.
exciting. That's exciting.
And like,
Not exciting if you're looking forward to the NHL going back to the Olympics in the next few years. But
No. is that
If you're
a
a Canadian fan.
Canadian? Is that a Canadian American thing?
I think so.
Like,
There's a little bit of that.
Connor Bedard played in the CHL and put up ridiculous numbers, and he had more lead up, and we were like, "Holy shit, Connor Bedard!" And Celebrini, played in college.
Let's say Matvey Michkov. It turns out to be the best player in that draft.
I get the impression we're not talking about him enough.
No, that's so it's interesting because what's going to be fascinating is years from now when people go, hold on, you took Reinbacher
Oh, I know.
And they'll be like, well, wait a second, you didn't understand the geopolitical blah 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 at that time. It's like, yeah, but you know that times change too, right? And I think so. And that's not to take away from Ryan Bacher, who's taken a lot of crap from Montreal fans and really shouldn't. He's going to be steady. I think the point here is that sometimes when it's a national team player for your country, you naturally pay more attention.
Of course.
We knew about Sidney Crosby when he was 14 years old.
Yes,
How do I know that? Because I was a year younger than him. I was like, wow,
Uh-huh.
that guy's being mentioned on TSN. That's crazy. Right? So I think with Celebrini, the fact that it's not a Canadian team or a northern team picking first overall, right? It's going to be Southern California.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I was like, no, he plays in the northern states.
No, but like,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
it's going to be,
I
and he's an American, you know, and I think that American program has been spitting out some unbelievable talent.
Is he an American, like a U.S. born guy, or is he a Canadian who plays in the States?
It's a good question.
So here's what's great about that. It does not matter.
Yeah, he's from North Vancouver.
Oh, well, there you go. That's right. It
I thought he was
confused me
American.
because I know his dad works for the
Golden State.
Warriors, which you're going to hear
Hey, don't remember
100 times.
You don't remember at the games, the Canucks games, cheering in the crowd
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
during the playoffs is a big deal. How did you guys forget?
This is
that?
how not draft like how would I would, you know that I will never remember something like
No,
that.
but
That's
That's
true.
not my personality.
Yes, remembering anything.
Anything.
Here's why that's a little confusing. Didn't Bedard also grow up a Canucks fan?
Bedard is from the BC area.
Yeah. So this is back to back.
BC area, BC.
Yeah.
BC area.
BC area. Oh, he's from Seattle.
That's a dumb way to phrase it. Yeah.
Alaska. No, so it's back-to-back Canucks fans from BC going first overall. It's true.
I think it's
It's
fascinating.
true. It's not wrong.
I think it's fascinating, the guy like Celebrini, and I hope we get a clearer answer on this one day, because this is guys like, he's still 17. He won the Hobey Baker. He's the youngest player ever to win the Hobey Baker. It's crazy. I would love to know why they said, let's go into the NCAA versus the WHL, which has put out some great talent.
It's interesting for the guys at the top, because you'd think they would just do the major junior route. Like I've told this story a bunch of times, but I'll tell it again because it's very relevant on a day like today. You go play junior A, and you kick ass in junior A. Like there's this goalie that I interviewed back when I did a junior hockey show. This is like 2009. I do not remember this goalie's name, but he got a full ride to Maine University because he did well in junior A. Did he ever play pro? I don't know. I don't think so. But you know what he got? A free education at the University of
how
Maine.
about that? Yeah.
Yeah. So the guys at the top, you would think, play major junior, go up against all the big stars, go high. What do you need your degree for? Or whatever. Like Celebrini's not getting a degree.
No.
He played a year,
but he's got a year there, and I think it makes it easier to get back in should you want to later.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And like he could, I don't know, he could do summers or like, I don't know.
Or he could just play hockey and be rich.
Or he could just play hockey. Maybe
he's saying he wants to go back too. Like he's saying he had such a great time. I mean, 32 goals, 32 assists in 38 games.
I don't think
bet he had a
either
good
path matters anymore. I think the level of competition in NCAA hockey has grown so much that no matter which path you want to take, the end result is you're against high level competition and you can get drafted to the NHL. And if that's the end goal, then like why not go down to the States, have a great time with a bunch of your fellow university kids where you can make NIL money now. Like it seems like a fantastic path for a good hockey player.
Fewer games too.
Fewer games, yeah.
It's like 38 or something versus 68.
I think it's a better lifestyle. Like nobody knocks the league anymore. Like nobody knocks NCAA hockey. A lot of talent comes out of there. So
It's really.
So a couple of things. First off, I just want to say I wear the stupid crown today. Remember how we used to wear the crown? Why did I not remember him playing for Team Canada? Why did I not remember that? I have actual
Celebrini?
Yeah, I have actual memory issues. I cannot believe that.
Because that was December and there was other stuff.
I guess. Jeez, I'm
It's
embarrassed.
okay.
Yeah, at the World Junior.
The other thing I want to say is, Jesse, to your point about the NCAA, does that not present an issue for the CHL as a whole? And I know this is something we can get into later, but like if the NCAA competition and the CHL competition, the thing used to be you didn't draft guys from college. You signed them at a whatever, like Tyler Bozak.
Yep.
And you might get a Tyler Bozak, who's considered one of the best college free agent signings ever.
Or
but
you
most
get like Christian Hansen.
who
Had a
still
cup
shows
of
up.
coffee.
Who still shows up at Canadian? He's still Toronto Maple Leaf alumni, handing out the jersey.
And people go, okay.
Oh, Christian Hansen, 20 games, cool.
Yeah.
But that level of thinking is like 15 years ago thinking. It's not
So-
2010 anymore.
What does the CHL offer?
Damn.
The NCAA offers an education and NIL money. The CHL will offer you a stipend
I think it's
and
still more
some boarding at a stranger's house. It's great hockey.
Like their lore is like this is the best minor hockey in the world,
Sure.
right? Anything below the pro level, this is where it's at.
It's still probably the standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're in high school, I mean, you can't go to the NCAA in high school.
it's a different animal, you know,
Yeah.
because it's not quite the same.
Yeah,
What if you don't like school?
yo, straight up, I know what I would have chosen.
Teenagers,
I'd have been like,
notably,
F school.
No, but if you're
always love school.
if you're Connor Bedard, the NCAA isn't an option for you.
Yes,
Like you got to play in the CHL because you're going to be really good when you're 15, 16, and 17, and you're not eligible for university.
That's a really good point.
The CHL needs to exist in that form for. That's why I said it was best minor hockey because that's what it is. You have a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds who aren't eligible for the NCAA.
Bedard was ineligible for college hockey like 3 years before he got drafted, something like that.
Yeah, that's why they have like we see those picks and it's like, oh, they're drafting this 15-year-old to the CHL and that sort of stuff because it's a minor league for kids.
It's a big resume thing. It means a lot to these kids. Again, you got to get in the mind of like a 15-year-old here. Like even if you're a 9th, 10th, 11th round draft pick, you're second cousins with the owner's dog or something. Like you get to say I was drafted by the Barrie Colts.
We used to talk about guys from like the area, you know,
yeah.
when you're in high school and you're like, oh, that guy might get drafted.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah. And it's like
Huge deal.
high school level hockey in the GTA. Like I know it's not great. Like if you're competitive,
because they take all the talent.
if you're competitive
Yeah.
in hockey in the GTA, you go play for your club team. You go to the CHL. Like there's no high school level hockey here. That's really great.
Adam, I always forget. Did you play on the Moet hockey team?
No, I got my ass handed to me in tryouts, and I didn't go back.
Oh,
I so when we went, we went up to grade 13.
yeah.
Which was a thing that used to exist in Ontario. Don't ask. It's pretty stupid. It's why they got rid of it.
Our grade 9 year, I think, was the last year of grade 13.
It was the last year, grade 13. And there was a guy who played junior A or junior B for the St. Mike's Majors, and he was an adult. Guy's 18, 19 years old. And I was, when did I turn 14? I would have turned 14.
2002 or 3. No, 2002.
2002. So yeah, I would have just been freshly 14, right?
Yeah.
Like a couple months into being 14. And so we show up in late August, early September, whenever these tryouts are.
You're a boy.
I'm a boy.
You're a boy.
I played single A at the time. And I came across center with the puck and I heard somebody say, I forget his name, but it was like Kevin or Joey or something like that. Don't do it. And I look up and this guy's shoulder is like right here.
Oh,
and
shit.
he lit me up in a way that I was on the ground like sucking wind, and it was that you know, if you've ever been trucked before, you just the pain, full body
And
laid out, missing one of my gloves.
You said, I'll be a theater kid.
Yeah.
Enough. I'll be in plays with Steve.
And I was like, this guy just messed me up. This guy just completely messed me up. And I was like, you know what? I'll just stick to my single A and I'll do other stuff. And I knew I wasn't going to be a great hockey player. So yeah, no, I never did play for Moet, but I had buddies that did. And I here's the thing: there was a senior team, which was the juniors could make the senior team if you were good enough, and a couple of my buddies did. So I was bold enough to go for the senior team, and then I didn't even bother with the junior team because I'm like, nah.
You could have made the.
I think
team.
I had minimal confidence in those days. Minimal.
Right.
So
Well,
I think that's what it was.
You would have been on a team with Rob Quit.
Well, Rob didn't stick around though.
Nobody knows. Who that is.
Rob,
Give me a second.
Rob got drafted.
Yeah,
So Rob went to
So the
Yo.
reason Rob didn't play for our high school team is he got drafted. I don't remember what team he got drafted by, but he played in the OHL with the Windsor Spitfires. And one of the years that they won the Memorial Cup, he was Ryan Ellis's defense partner.
No way.
Yeah, it's cool. And Rob,
he won the Memorial Cup.
He won the Memorial Cup.
Nice.
I don't think he ever played in the NHL, but he played a bunch of Europe, a cup of coffee in the AHL, played in the ECHL. He was on the Bruins minor league affiliate. If you're looking for him on HockeyDB right now, the reason you can't find him is his last name is spelled Kwiet.
He had, I remember this when he used to play. Rob was a nice guy. I remember his hands in like grade 7, grade 8 were just enormous, just like fistful of muscle. So anyway, let's get into
just last point on that. When I talk about like high school hockey not mattering, it's because things like St. Michael's, like they're a college where you can go to school, collegiate school, but they're in a junior A league. Like they don't play high school hockey. We have junior A teams here in Ontario. Like the hockey in the GTA is so competitive. And
that's the guy. The guy was he was wearing a Majors jersey. The guy that lit me up.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, like he had
what a flex.
Yeah, he went there wearing like a Majors practice jersey. I was like, he's gonna fucking.
I'm talking about like the Majors, like even the Buzzers. Like that's the school, right?
Yeah.
That's the level below.
Oh, the Buzzers. That's hilarious. Guys, it's a time of year where we're working all the time. So what do you do to stay healthy and energetic?
Just don't sleep and over caffeinate and be really cranky and nuts.
Jesse, what do you do?
Oh, is that unhealthy? But what's a healthier option?
Steve, we got you on this train as well. AG1 every morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are you going to say anything more?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
I thought you were going to continue. The camera, and nobody who's listening to this can
Nobody's listening can see what you're doing.
Helps with lots of things. Energy level, satisfying toots. They should put it in the thing.
Satisfying toots? For you, I think the most important, I'm going to speak for you. The most important thing is you have a busy lifestyle with a newborn baby and another kid who's very young, a toddler. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for you to keep track of getting your nutrition every day. Here is a simple all-in-one solution for you to get your nutrition every day as a very busy dad.
Prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes for gut support, B vitamins, folate, magnesium, vitamin C, zinc, so many things in one little package. And by the way, if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs when you purchase your first time at drinkag1.com/SDP.
You could bring that travel pack to the zoo.
You can.
Yeah, and drink your AG1 there.
And you can brag to the animals that you're better fed than they are.
And rub it all over your forest green work uniform.
There you go. That's drinkag1.com/SDP. Check it out. Okay, so listen, we got a lot to get to today. So this episode may run a little bit, so we're gonna have to move through things quickly, Steve. But I do think that we should start with the Leafs. Because there's some Leafs news, and Brad Treliving spoke to the media. And so we got a little sense of some of the things, although I don't think they said very much. And Jesse, I just sent the first clip to you. Mm-hmm. And the first clip will be Brad Treliving, and he's asked, hey, Brad, what do you think your priorities are? And what I do like Brad Treliving with the media. I have to say that this guy seems pretty affable. He's not cagey. He's not defensive. He doesn't try to be mysterious. He's pretty straightforward. And I think this market needs that. We've needed that for a while in terms of communication. So here's what Brad Treliving said the priorities are this offseason when asked.
I don't think it's a secret. Our defense is an area that we'd like to see if we can improve. Easier said than done. So, but that's certainly an area that we've been focused on.
Why? Why is it easier?
Looking at the trade market since we've finished the end of the year, the difficulty, the types of players you're looking for usually aren't available in the trade market. So that's an area right now. We've got some cap space, but you do look at the holes that we have to fill, and it goes quickly. So. We're trying to be as prudent as we can to look at the defense. I wouldn't say look at it first, but look at it first before we commit too many cap dollars anywhere else.
So let's pause that for a second. Okay, so obviously, if you're a Leaf fan, I think you like hearing that. And this was clearly an issue last year as well when Treliving came in. I think, you can argue about the merits of spending $4 million on John Klingberg, and I would agree with that. When that signing went through, everybody in this room was like, what? But the idea of John Klingberg being 75% of what he was, say, on that run that Dallas took in the COVID bubble, where he was great, legitimately great. And he was a great puck-moving defenseman leading up to that. What they need are two legitimate top four defensemen. They do need that.
And then they desperately need a right-handed shot. At least one. If you lose Liljegren, you need at least two.
Right.
You need to add two. Now, you can't do what you did last year. These lefties on the right, enough. Stop it. No more Ron Hainsey's, no more TJ Brody's. Get a right-handed defenseman, for the love of God.
Jesse, if you could take us to 522, there's two questions in a row I'd like to watch. First off, the first part of this is going to be Brad Treliving answering a question on whether or not he's open to moving the first round pick that they have this year. And it's going to lead into a question from our very own, SDPN's very own Christopher Johnston. You heard of him?
I have. Look how happy Brad is.
And CJ's going to ask about Mitch Marner. So have a listen to these two questions.
Probably not very good if I deal it, but I wouldn't say I'm not opposed to moving it. I would say, as I sit here right now, more than likely we're making the pick. We'd certainly look at it if it fits obviously a player that can fill a hole in our lineup right now. I don't think that's likely. The next step with that, Josh, is looking to possibly acquire more draft capital. We'll see, but I think it's probably more than likely right now that we're going to make the pick.
There's so much discussion about Mitch Marner and his status with the team. With you able to extend him as of July 1st, do you expect to try to do that?
Well, you know what, Chris, I'm not going to speculate on everything. I think it's real clear. I want to make it real clear. Mitch is a star. Mitch is a superstar in the league, and he's been that since he's entered the league, and he's been that ever since he put on a Maple Leaf jersey. We said it at the end of the year that we weren't happy how the year ended. That's not Mitch. Let's not focus it on Mitch. As an organization, as a team, we felt we should have gone further than we did. So when that happens, you have to look at everything. And, no different than every other 31 teams that are here, we're going to try to make our team better. But I'm not going to speculate on that. Like I said, he's a star. As we do with any player, we're not going to get into speculation on
All right.
of that nature. But
we can pause.
Certainly he's a special player.
No, I wasn't wrapping you up, Jesse. I'm wrapping him up. Like you said the same thing for.
So
you're not going to speculate. It's fine.
Okay, so let's work backwards there. So the Mitch Marner answer is freshest in your mind from what you guys have heard. What do you deduce from that?
No, I want to do the draft one.
You want to do the draft one?
I want to do the draft one.
Okay, let's do the draft one.
Because the Mitch one is going to lead to a run in the field.
Okay, all right.
Okay. The draft one is interesting because that press conference was largely a nothing burger. That's interesting.
I thought it was.
They want to acquire more draft capital. So who are they going to get on defense? Who are they going to acquire? Getting more draft capital. Well, how do you get that? You got to exchange goods and or services. You got to trade draft picks. So are they going to move down from 23? Or you got to trade guys from your prospect system or roster in order to get more draft picks. So that was a very interesting little tidbit that Brad said. I don't have much more to say on that. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good idea. They have a first round pick and then they don't pick again until I think the 4th.
Yeah.
And then they have a few depth picks. This team
based on the market, if you move down 6 or 7 spots to say 30, let's just say that I don't know who's at 30, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You probably can get like a first and a second out of that.
Well,
if you base it on what Chicago and New York did,
look at recent, what the Leafs did last year. They stayed at 28 and they got Easton Cowan,
which is awesome.
I think it was the 28th pick. Like you nailed it. Like, you gotta have like the Leafs' confidence in their scouting staff right now is probably very high. Like they haven't had many picks in recent years, but think about them. Easton Cowan is only a year out, but he's looked extremely good. You got to feel pretty good about the Fraser Minton pick, even if he tops out at something, like a third line center.
I think when he said, I want to acquire more draft capital, that's the player I thought of.
Fraser Minton?
I think Fraser Minton is more valuable to this team as a trade piece than as a player.
That's interesting.
Because you can find fourth and third line centers.
I agree with that.
And-
I 100%.
And I think a team that's on the upswing might be willing to get a guy like that to be ready for the roster. So if you look at like,
I agree.
I'm just, let's say Chicago, for instance, right?
Mhm.
Or San Jose, two bad teams that are looking to get good. Celebrini, Will Smith, or Connor Bedard. You're going to need some young guys to come up with them, right? Because remember, that first Penguins Cup was Crosby, Malkin, and who?
Jordan Stahl.
That's right.
Mhm.
And you need that type of player.
He ain't that, but yeah.
Yeah, he ain't that. But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. Nyes was another second round pick. Nikolai Grabankin is a 5th round pick. Like, they've been able to do a lot with very little in recent years. So they're confident in their amateur scouting staff. Good. Great. The Marner stuff. We want to go out and we want to get D, and we want to get better at defense.
I just want to hear it if Jesse, before we move to the Marner stuff, I do want to hear Jesse's side of things too on the draft pick thing.
On the draft pick, I think it's interesting. Like, I don't think it's like the earth shattering.
It's a surprise though.
It's a surprise because you look at the Leafs prospect system and it's pretty bare.
I don't know about a surprise. It's news.
It's news because you wonder if they're looking towards the future here, because you don't want them to look too far into the future, because a good team sell the farm and you rebuild through interesting trades. And I look at a situation like Tampa where it's okay, we're going to acquire the young talent through moving away assets instead of trying to build through the draft, because that takes forever and who knows about draft picks. So I think it's fairly interesting that Brad's looking towards, hey, we might increase our pick load, because that's a 3-4 year plan and not an immediate, we have Austin Matthews, let's improve next season plan.
Well, if you are committing to Matthews, Marner with an extension, and Nylander, leaving Tavares out of it, you need cheap young players. And you don't have any coming.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any coming. You have one or two. Like, if you're a Leaf fan, you go, well, Eastern Cowan. Well, this guy. Well, that guy. It's not enough. It's not enough to have one or two, because then you get a team like Dallas who has 5 or 6 and they're going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get a team like Boston who just keeps picking these guys who you've never friggin' heard of out of nowhere, and they make solid middle 6 players out of them to constantly fill their lineup in place of David, or beneath David Pastrnak and beneath Brad Marchand and beneath Charlie McAvoy. And the defenseman, the type of defenseman that Brad Treliving is talking about, you almost exclusively get them by drafting them.
Yeah.
Almost exclusive.
In some ways, in my deepest depths of my heart, I'm a little disappointed, because I like the Vegas mentality where it's none of their first round draft picks ever in the history of their franchise ever stick around for them. You know?
Yeah, true.
We're just gonna go buy the guy who's good now kind of mentality about draft or building a team. So it's a little okay, the draft is cool, but what if you just went out and got guys?
Well, so let me do my rant then.
On Marner?
No, it's not on Marner.
Okay, what's it on?
So here's what you're gonna get. All right, because I was flow charts and lab coat this morning, like a scientist who is constantly ignored at the beginning of a disaster movie. Okay, and I know my reputation. Adam and I had a good discussion before the show. I do have a rant, but it's coming later, and that one's gonna be loud. This one is an indoor voice rant.
So you have 2 rants.
I have 2 rants.
This is gonna be.
This one is a Leaf rant.
Yeah.
And it is an indoor voice rant.
What?
What's that, Maddie?
Mixer.
What is that?
Have fun with the audio.
Oh
mixer.
yeah, I'll turn down Steve's mic a little. Yeah.
This is an indoor voice rant.
Yeah.
Because it's not emotional. It's not emotional in the least. It is cold, hard fact. So, can the Leafs be a team like Vegas? Can the Leafs simply wait a year for John Tavares' contract to expire? Those are great questions.
Mm-hmm.
Questions worth asking. Smart Leaf fans are asking them. Let's attempt to answer it. Last year, the cap hits for the Toronto Maple Leafs core 4. Austin Matthews made $11,640,250 against the cap. William Nylander $6,962,366 against the cap. John Tavares, $11 million flat against the cap. Mitch Marner, $10,903,000 against the cap, for a total of $40,505,616 against the salary cap. The salary cap was $83.5 million. That is 48.5% of the cap. Well, luckily, the salary cap is going up this year.
Okay.
And it's going up significantly this year. It's going up $4.5 million. That's a lot, and it's the most since the COVID shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
That should be great news for the Leafs, except it's not. This upcoming season, because Matthews has an extension kicking in and Nylander has an extension kicking in, Matthews is going from 11.6 something to 13.25. Nylander is going from 6.9 something to 11.5. So here's what you get. 13.25 for Matthews, 11.5 for Nylander, 11 for Tavares, 10.903 for Mitch Marner. That is a total of $46,653,000 wrapped up in 4 men, 4 guys. The salary cap will be $88 million. That takes up 53.01% of the cap, up from 48.
So it's going to be more. The core 4 will cost the Leafs more percentage of cap this year than it did last.
Yes, Adam. That is exactly what I'm saying. I'll read what I said in my Twitter thread. I have more than this available for today's show. I've done more research. What I said was, I've seen a lot of debate about what the Leafs should do in free agency, but what you do with the core 4 dictates everything. Even though the salary cap is going up, the amount of cap space you have to surround those guys goes down this upcoming season by $1,647,384. The Leafs were 1 round and out this year. This upcoming season, they're going to have less cap space to surround the core 4 than they did last year.
But Steve, injuries.
But yeah, injuries are part of the reason why the Leafs were able to even pull off a roster last year, because they just put everybody on LTIR, right? Like Matt Murray's coming off the books, and I want to say Jake Muzzin as well. They have some maneuvering to do. Now, here's another thing that some people said. Well, there's a lot of expensive players in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Leafs aren't the only team doing this. You're right. The Leafs are not the only team with a bunch of expensive stars on their roster. However, their stars are outrageously more money, cost outrageously more than any other team that they should be trying to emulate. So let's look. The Leafs, their core 4, Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, Marner, $46,653,000.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the team that beat them, the Boston Bruins. Their top 4 paid guys, Pasternak, McAvoy, Lindholm, Marchand, $33,375,000. That is a difference of 13.278. That is a difference of more than Austin Matthews' extension between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the team that beat them in this past year's playoffs. Well, should the Leafs want to emulate the Bruins? The Bruins were out in the second round. Okay, fine. Let's look at the Florida Panthers. $37 million tied up in their core 4 of Barkov, Bobrovsky, Tkachuk, and Ekblad. That is a difference of $9,653,000. You know what? We've come this far. Let's do all the top 4 or the final 4 teams from this year's playoffs. The Oilers, McDavid, Nurse, Draisaitl, Ekholm. That is their 4 most expensive guys. $36,250,000. That is a difference of $10.403 million. The New York Rangers, Panarin, Fox, Zibanejad, Trouba. Trouba, but still $37,642,857 against the cap. That is a difference of $9,010,143. The Dallas Stars, Sagan, Ben, Hintz, Heiskanen, $36,250,000. You might say, well, I'll take the Leafs core 4 over that core 4. Fair enough, but it's a difference of $10,403,000. Now let's go in. Let's round it off by looking at the rest of the teams that have won a Stanley Cup post-COVID. The Vegas Golden Knights, because they spend money on everyone, right? There's no salary
They're in on
cap.
every star.
Yeah, they're in on every star. Here's part of the reason why. Stone, Eichel, Pietrangelo, Hannafin is actually their core four this upcoming season. It's going to cost them $35,650,000. How are they able to go out and get everyone? Well, because their four most expensive guys are $11,003,000 less than the Leafs core four.
Mm-hmm.
The Colorado Avalanche.
That's probably going to change with like the Marchessault deal that he has to sign and that sort of stuff.
If he signs there. Like at some point you're going to start losing guys, right? But it hasn't happened yet. The Colorado Avalanche, the closest thing we have to the Leafs. Closest thing, believe it or not. In terms of salary structure, their core four still includes two defensemen, so it's different from the Leafs in that regard, which is a big regard. Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar, Devon Toews. Would you rather have the Leafs core four or that? I know my answer. $38,100,000. It's the closest thing to the Leafs core four structure, and it's still a difference of $8,553,000 in cap space. Imagine going out in free agency and adding someone who makes over $8.5 million to your team. Like Landeskog isn't even part of the core four if he were healthy and LTIR. Like I factored all that in. And then we look at the Lightning, who went to 3 straight finals. Kucherov, Point, Vasilevsky, Sergachev, $37 million on the button.
You don't say Stamkos in there too?
No, because he doesn't have a top four.
So top four
cap
salary.
hit. Yeah. I'm just going top four. The reason they're able to afford a guy like Stamkos or Hedman is somehow not in their top four.
Because they signed it at discounts.
They signed it. Yeah, well, they signed it cleverly, and when you do things cleverly, and state tax, whatever, cry me a river. Like the
not even
is what it is.
Well, and there's also ways around the tax in Canada. We've talked about this many times on AP.
Yes.
The point I'm trying to make is that it has to do with the players also wanting to keep the team together.
Exactly. Well, and good for them. Look at the results for them, and look at the results for the Leafs. $37 million on the button. That is $9,653,000 less than the Leafs core four. So your question: what about Stamkos? What about Hedman? You could bring in Stamkos into that equation and still have like $1.5 million left over afterward. That is the difference between the Lightning and the Leafs. That is the difference between all these teams and the Leafs. Now, very important question. Someone said, this isn't rocket science to me. And I was like, well, then you explain it to me. This isn't rocket science. The Leafs wait a year, let John Tavares walk, extend Marner, so that you can keep Matthews, Nylander, Marner.
Oh, Steven, did you bring up the swappy doodle doo?
The swappy doodle doo? Yeah. I'm bringing up the swappy doodle doo.
Remember back in February?
Yeah.
where I outlined we could do the swappy doodle doo when it looked like the team was going to perform well in the playoffs, and I was on the board of bring back the band.
So I'm going to go through two scenarios here. Two scenarios with John Tavares. Number one is he walks for nothing. Okay. Mm-hmm. The other is he signs an extension at a way reduced rate with the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is something I would be interested in. And people go, that solves all your problems.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do this off the top of my head because I've done this so many damn times. Let's say the salary cap goes up an additional $4.5 million. That's wishful thinking. Like, what does Alan think? Like, do you?
No. That's it, the expectation is it's $4 million this year, and it's
$4.5 million this year.
$4.5 million this year, and it's almost set in stone that it'll be 93 next year. And then Alan was saying between 97 and 98 the year after.
Great. Okay. So
they're going to maximize the 5% jump that's allowed in the CBA each of the years that the CBA is still intact.
Great. I hope it is 93 million. So in my calculations, I factored in 92.5. Kiss FM. I factored that in. Because it just goes up by the same amount that it did this past year. So let's say it's a $92.5 million cap 2 seasons from now, okay? And let's say Mitch Marner signs a contract extension with the Toronto Maple Leafs for $11.5 million, identical to William Nylander. First of all, pause for laughter. He's not. He's going to...
Yeah, I would expect 12 and a half.
Yeah,
what
he's
is
gonna
what his
want
camp is going to want to settle at.
significantly more than that. But let's say it goes up to $92.5 million and he makes 11.5. That would be 13.25 for Matthews, 11.5 for Nylander, 11.5 for Marner, 0 for John Tavares. The core three then would take up 37.95, round up, 38% of the salary cap. Still a lot, still way more than any other team in this equation that we're talking about, unless you factor in the Edmonton Oilers, who are going to have to extend Leon Draisaitl. And CJ is openly talking about the prospect of the Oilers potentially trading him, right? And him being done with that team. The Nurse contract like sinks the whole equation for that whole thing, because then you're going to have to extend Bouchard as well. But enough about the Oilers. Let's just look at it this way. You let Tavares walk, it's $11 million free.
Mm-hmm.
You get $11 million to spend on whatever you want. Well, here's what you're going to spend it on. All right. This upcoming season, you have Joseph Woll. You have your starting goaltender. Do you understand how made in the shade this situation is for the Leafs? Your starting goaltender makes less than league minimum. Less than league minimum. He makes under $800,000. It's one of the best goalie contracts in the entire league, at least for this upcoming season. You can't be more fortunate than that, than under league min. Matthew Knies is also on the last year of his entry-level deal. Both of these young men are going to need a contract extension at the end of this season. Let's say Woll gets $3.8 million per season. That would roughly be in line with what Kevin Weeks was talking about. I think he said between $3.5 and $4 million, or was it $3 and $4 million?
3.5 and 4.
So let's say 3.8. Let's say Woll is making $800,000. He's making a little less than that, but just for the sake of math, 3.8. Out of your $11 million, there goes 3. Now you're left with 8. Matthew Knies makes $925,000 against the cap. Let's say he has a really good season this year. Let's really, really undershoot it. And let's say he gets 2.95. Let's say he gets a $2 million raise. That's it.
I think he gets that raise if he has a bad season.
I know.
Okay.
But I'm
right.
going, everything is rosy and amazing.
Okay.
He gets a $2 million raise. You had $11 million to spend. You lost 3 of it from the Joseph Woll extension. Now you've lost another 2 from Matthew Knies. You have $6 million left. Well, you can just bring John Tavares back at $6 million. Let's say John Tavares is willing to do that. Guess what? You have the exact same team. You have added nothing. You haven't improved a lick. Your older players have gotten older. Your younger players have gotten older. Call it a break even. Matthews is still in his prime. Nylander's still in his prime. Marner's still in his prime. Or if you simply let John Tavares walk, you have about $6 million remaining, optimistically, to spend on a second line center, which is roughly what they cost anyway, if not more.
Oh, by that time, it'll be more.
By that time, it'll probably be more. So,
I'll be interested.
Let John Tavares walk.
What does Chandler Stevenson get this offseason? That's
Exactly.
my question.
Something like that. Like, just let John Tavares walk. People aren't, they're just saying that and throwing it over their shoulder. Guys, it's wrong. It's not a good plan. It doesn't work. You're acting like that is the only thing that's going to happen. The only thing that's going to happen is John Tavares' contract is simply going to expire, and there are going to be no other issues to handle. Nick Robertson scored 15 goals playing like 5 seconds last year. What's he going to get as a restricted free agent?
They do talk about that later on in the press conference, and
right.
all Brad says is nothing to report, which means they're asking too much, and the Leafs are offering too little.
Right. Okay. And they're going to go out and they're going to get Matt Roy and they're going to get Chris Tanev in free agency. That's awesome. Who the heck's playing in Max Domi and Tyler Bertuzzi's spot?
Yeah.
Gee, whack-a-mole. That's $8.5 million right there. You going to be able to get Tanev and Roy done for $8.5 million? No.
Unless you sign Tanev to like a ridiculously long deal that you know you're going to LTIR.
An absurdly long deal that even that might not be enough to completely make it even. So when I talk about trading Marner, it's not about trading Marner. You can go ahead and trade Austin Matthews. Go ahead. Do it. Go ahead and trade William Nylander. Good. Whatever is the case, whatever you decide on, this can't continue. You can't do this anymore. You know, someone said emotionally, and that's fine, if the Leafs win next year, I better not see you celebrating. I'm a Leafs fan. I want them to succeed. Whether they trade someone out of the core four or they bring them back, I'll be cheering for them. I'll be hoping that they do well for the hockey team that I cheer for. There's no evidence. There's no track record whatsoever to suggest that's going to happen. There's no evidence.
I think people are trying to paint you into a corner to be like a Pollyanna where you're a fan, but you never criticize. And I think some fans believe that you don't criticize teams. And I think that's completely erroneous.
You're asking me to stick my head in the sand.
Yeah.
You're asking me to completely stick my head in the sand and ignore all the problems that this team is dealing with.
I also want to point out something.
Okay.
Not to take away from your point, but to reinforce your point. And I don't know if you guys noticed this. Jesse, when Steve was going through all the core fours on all these teams, what was different about the Leafs core four other than the money? Can you pick it out?
I know.
The other teams have been wildly more successful.
Yes. Number one, why? Number two, and this will. It's a little unfair that I'm throwing this at you, but I want.
Why have they been more successful?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that two or more of the core four have been defensemen.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Every single one of
those teams had a
at least one
defenseman.
At least one.
That's why, like, I've always been on the bandwagon of if Mitch Marner's $11 million was for a defenseman, this team would be so much better.
Guys, no team is built this way.
Yeah. What if that $11 million was a right-handed defenseman? That'd be cool.
What if it was two?
Yeah.
You could get two pretty good ones.
Nah, I want Cale Makar.
No team.
Okay, fair.
No team.
Or Evan Bouchard, same level.
No team has been built this way in the past. No team is built this way now. No team will be built this way going forward. Except for the Leafs. It shouldn't be a controversial take that this is a poor choice for a way to build your team.
What say you, Steve Dangle, to the detractors who say Mitch Marner has another level to go to and that he will end up being a great playoff performer?
Show your work. Show your work.
There's no evidence to back it up, but what if one day what if next season he takes another step?
Show your work. He's 27. Like Ken Holland did not go to the Edmonton Oilers when he was getting ready to offer Zach Hyman $5.5 million. He didn't go, you know what? He's going to score 70 goals between the regular season and playoff. He didn't know. What you're asking me to do is just take a blind leap of faith. And I'm not going to do that. It's like saying Matthews. Forget Marner. Leave Marner out of the equation. Matthews is going to score a goal a game next year in the playoffs. Nylander is going to score a goal a game. One of these guys is going to go on a McDavid 40-plus point run. There's no evidence to suggest that's coming down the pipeline.
And
there's
running
none.
a billion-dollar hockey team on blind faith isn't a good way to run your operation.
Like, guys, all we need is for Pontus Holmberg to chip in like 10 playoff goals next year, and we're fine. What are you talking about?
Well, and
there's no evidence to suggest that's even sort of in the realm of possibility.
There's also those that will say, especially as it comes to Marner, that, hey, this guy is the Leafs' active leading point getter in the playoffs over the last decade or whatever.
Okay.
And that's true.
Yes.
But all of those points happened in games 1 through 4.
Trade Austin then.
Right.
And it's also
he's the best one. Marner's the best one. That's what the evidence says. Trade Austin.
What did it get you?
Because okay. So yes, he is that. And then what did that get us? One round.
Got us to game 7 a bunch of times.
Like that wasn't successful. Yes, he did that. And then it led to the team not being good.
It's not a personal vendetta against this player. It's a
He happens to be
vendetta
the one
against the structure. It is legitimate, emotionless, cold, logical criticism of a structure that doesn't work, hasn't worked, and likely won't work.
If Marner made $8 million, this is entirely
It's a
different
moot
conversation.
point. Yeah.
Like, it's-
well, it's still no. It would still be relevant. They would still be the most expensive team by like $5.5 million.
I think Mitch at $8 million is a completely different conversation.
I agree.
It is, but
I
it would
agree.
still be
would still be an
similar issue.
Sure.
It'd be
but-
less of an issue when Tavares leaves, though.
Yes, yes,
And-
absolutely.
And, it goes back to the Carlo conversation, Carlo Koliakovo, and I feel a little bad doing this because Carlo's a really good guy, but it was when he put out. I'm on the Marner staying bandwagon, and don't you think it would change everybody's impression of this guy if he was making under 10 million? And Steve said, "Well, can I answer that?" Well, of course it would.
Yeah.
And
I
it would.
texted him the day we recorded that. I'm like, we have a show coming out. It's going to sound like I'm calling you stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Well, you know what? If we ever have Carlo on, what I will ask him is, why would you even ask that question? You know the answer to that. Everybody knows the answer to that.
Yeah.
And you know that that's not realistic. So what are we talking
Right.
about?
It's the same situation with a player like Darnell Nurse. Darnell Nurse is a great defenseman, just not at $9.25 million.
I'll take him on my team.
Darnell Nurse is a great, I don't know, $6.
If you had him at $6 million and he was your second right shot or left shot, whatever the hell he is on you're fine.
There's no complaints. It's just he makes too much, and
Yeah.
for the level because everybody has to exist in a situation where you have a finite number of dollars to spend on your roster. It matters what the guy makes and his performance.
There's out of all the players that I named on those lists, there's two players that stick out like a sore thumb. Nurse is one of them at 9.25, and Jacob Trouba at 8 is the other. And CJ, Chris Johnston, said on the Chris Johnston show, Jacob Trouba's on his trade board. So
Yeah,
that could be very interesting.
they dropped the updated one in the Athletic, and he's up there.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Because the salary cap exists.
Because the Rangers look at this and go, welp, this guy's not pulling his weight.
The newest CJ show, if you haven't heard it, it is an absolute treasure trove of news and information. Julian just tees up every big name in the league, and CJ's got a little source on all of them, and he gives you a good little tidbit. It's fantastic. Go listen to that.
Sorry. Did you want to
It's
say
just there's no logical argument for keeping this core together, even if you trade Marner and lose the deal. There's no logical reason to continue down this path. It's okay if they're your favorite player and you don't want them dealt. I get it. You're a
That's
fan.
a that's
I'm
a
fan too.
different conversation.
Yeah,
It's a different conversation. I understand. Doesn't make sense. Like you could argue, like, okay, so I've been railing against the Leafs should have traded Marner before his no move kicked in. They didn't do that. They already didn't do that. So the more recent sacrifice that they should have made, no one's going to want to hear this, should have traded William Nylander at the height of his value. I don't want Nylander to be traded. You can't do this.
So
You can't continue the structure. You can't.
and I've been on the bandwagon of I don't think they will. Now, it comes with an obvious caveat if the deal isn't out there. This is the easy switch for the Leafs is they can go and they can talk to Marner's camp and they can talk to other teams. But if there's no deal out there and they're like, well, it would make us worse and we wouldn't get anything for him, I can understand a scenario where they keep him. I get that. That's the only scenario where it's acceptable, but that will still be their fault.
Yeah. Yes.
Does that make sense?
No matter.
I think he's moving, but I still think if they do keep him, that is a failure of management.
There's two things here, right? There's the revisionist criticism where you go, you should have done this, you should have done that, you should have done that. And then there's, okay, you've already made those mistakes. So what do you do now?
Right.
And your options appear to be trade him for not a good deal
Mm-hmm.
or lose him for nothing.
Mm-hmm. So I want to
If you're not qualified to spend the cap space that you're going to get by losing Mitch Marner, if you're not qualified to adequately replace him through free agency or trade, you're in the wrong business.
See, I think Brad is.
Well, this is
and
what I'm saying.
I'll give you 2 trades that I want to throw out there. Number one, and everybody rails against this now. The fit isn't there, but the Jonathan Huberdeau trade, people lauded him at the time. Uyghur and Huberdeau for Tkachuk. Wow, that was like they gave Brad the crown that summer.
It didn't look as bad as it is.
Right, and I think part of that is how the Flames implemented that system and how the coach, and there's a bunch of other things. The coach was brutal; he was terrible.
Well, you agree to pay a guy $10.5 million. You should probably move heaven and earth to accommodate him, and they didn't do that.
The second thing, because they didn't look out for who's going to put the puck in the net.
Right.
So the second thing is people forget that this is the same general manager who once had to trade Dougie Hamilton for who? Who'd he get?
Elias Lindholm and Noah Hannafin.
40 goal scorer Elias Lindholm and number 1 defenseman Noah Hannafin.
You know what?
Not bad.
Dougie Hamilton's pretty good. That's Brad Treliving being on the other end of it.
Yes.
Or actually, no, it's not. It's him. He basically tried to replicate that deal with the Tkachuk deal. It just didn't.
Now,
it didn't work out.
Did a few things not work out? The Monahan thing, that not keeping Toffoli, I think, was a mistake on their part. I love Toffoli.
Did Treliving not also draft Adam Fox?
Yes,
and he didn't want to play in Calgary, so he had to trade him to
Carolina.
Didn't
Carolina.
and then he wouldn't play in Carolina
Wouldn't
either.
play in Carolina, so he went to Adam Fox was on 3 teams before his first NHL game.
Yeah,
and then because then he traded Adam Fox, and that's how he got Dougie Hamilton, right?
Yes.
Fox was involved in the deal, so
Dougie
it makes the deal look so much worse. But it completely ignores context.
Yeah, Adam Fox said, "I will never play for you."
Which, yeah.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a whole hell of a lot of leverage.
Something I want to keep an eye on, and this writer in particular doesn't get enough credit in the city of Toronto, but Anthony Petrelli, I think, is one of the best Leafs reporters out there.
He broke the Tavares signing.
He broke the Tavares signing, and that was a long time ago now, and he's been great ever since. And he said something really interesting in his column today. And Maple Leafs Hot Stove, we have no affiliation, but we are big fans of them. They're great guys. And I wanted to throw this out there. Last summer, when Brad Treliving talked about William Nylander's pending unrestricted free agency, he sang a very different tune than he has with Marner. Now, this is after the press conference yesterday. Now, it was 20 minutes ago that you heard the clip. That's not a cheap shot. I'm just saying it was 20 minutes. But if you remember, Brad Treliving's like, listen, Mitch is a star, blah, 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 right? And there's been a lot of noise around him, but he's a star. Mitch knows how I feel about him as a player, is what he says. Here's what Brad said last summer about William Nylander.
Okay.
You work the process. If there's nothing out there to make the team better, it doesn't make sense to make a trade and just stand up there and say, hurrah, I made a trade. Our focus, when you talk about Willie, is strictly to get him signed. You are always talking to people. That is the job. The job of the manager is to know, A, what is going on in the league, and B, are the avenues to make your team better are there avenues to make your team better regardless of who it is? The priority is to sign the player and to always have your ears open for whether there are opportunities to make the team better. And then Petrelli, those are Petrelli quotes. And then management was clear the entire time that they wanted to keep Nylander, and they eventually locked him up to maximum term. Marner has not received anything remotely resembling that kind of endorsement. Even in Treliving's most recent pre-draft availability, which we just played, he made it clear that Marner is a star, but at no point did he vocally support retaining and or extending him as he did Nylander. And last year when we were talking about this, I can remember going, one of them's got to go.
You can't have both.
And we were thinking that going into the draft, one of them would, because neither had trade protection. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, July 1st hit and they both got trade protection, I guess. And then we were like, I guess we're going with this.
Marner's no trade kicking in should have been the nail in the coffin for Nylander. You can't do this.
I think Nylander had trade protection on July 1st as well.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, now he had trade protection at 6.9. Now he's got trade protection at 11.5, which the 11.5 is the trade protection.
Yeah.
Who's taking him on?
I don't think anybody wants to trade Nylander, though.
No,
and I think that
I agree, but what I'm saying is, no matter what names are in there, you can't do this.
They would be foolish to give Marner away for nothing, although I will make the argument that the cap space is worth more than than gold. It's
Well, then-
worth more than a first round pick. It's worth everything. That cap space, that relief from that cap space, whether it's the full 11 million or it's half of it, is so worth it. But I can understand where they've backed themselves into a corner and this guy doesn't move. I still, however, think, based on what I just saw from Brad Treliving, that this player is going. And
It's a great point from Anthony Petrelli.
I think that the Leafs are aware of the situation that they're in. And I will say this. When this was initially proposed half a decade ago, there were a lot of people who were against it. I was completely for it because it's like, what the hell, try. But what I am sick of watching is trying the Leafs having these guys who you know are capable of X, especially in the postseason,
Yes.
and trying to surround them with guys on
Ilya Lyubushkin.
yeah, and you get the occasional diamond in the rough. You get your Simon Benoits.
Yeah.
You get your Michael Buntings.
Yeah.
You get, like, you do have some really great success stories there. But how about a team that's more evenly balanced and that?
But you have like 2 seconds with these guys. Like you have maximum like 2 seasons with these guys and they're gone. Like if they do well, Bunting. This was always going to happen. He's brilliant. Smart guy. Signs with the Leafs, signs with his childhood team for 2 years. I'm going to play in their top 6 for 2 years. I'm going to put up like 60, 50 points, whatever. I'm going to go sign somewhere for millions of dollars. Instead of playing on the Coyotes. Like, whatever, dude. Like, I don't think he's regretting that decision.
Yep.
Ilya Mikheyev just had a rocket tied to him so that they could send him to Chicago.
But he was great in Toronto.
He did so damn well in Toronto that he earned himself a contract that was too big in Vancouver. Zach Hyman, like,
well, and you're and Steve's talking about in this, and it's not a rant, it's more of a discussion point.
Yeah.
It's a rant where you'd have to be loud.
yeah.
You're talking about what it's going to take to retain these players and how it will literally chew up the excess cap. You're forgetting that Simon Benoit is going to make double this year that he did last year. It's only $1.35 million.
Yep.
But by the way, if Timothy Liljegren is asking for anything more than that, he's out of his mind.
What was he, 1.4?
Yeah, he should be less than that. He should be less than Benoit in my mind. I look at a guy like Jake McCabe, who the Leafs apparently love. I actually like Jake McCabe a lot. And I go, even if he makes, because he's making $4 million, 2 by Toronto, 2 by Chicago.
Right.
So if he makes $1 million more, $2 million more on his UFA years, because he's coming up as a UFA at the end of this year, that is significant.
Jake McCabe is extraordinarily rare. Like, even this situation is like, there's a lot of things that are going to be very difficult to repeat. How many players in the NHL have been traded to a team 50% salary retention for multiple years? Less than a dozen?
And it took a unique situation in Chicago for that to happen, which was the team was like, we're blowing the doors off. This is
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, the Leafs got 3 seasons?
Yep.
Parts of 3 seasons of Jake McCabe at $2 million? You're going to have to make that happen again. And by the way, what it costs to make that happen was a first-round pick. So all these assets that you need to replenish this lineup, you either got to luck out in free agency, like, which requires a pitch process. It requires outbidding teams. It requires scouting teams better than other teams. Or you draft guys. But, you don't have any draft picks because you keep trading them for these unicorn situations because of your salary structure with your team. The Leafs are just constantly playing whack-a-mole and chasing this uncatchable dream.
And the picks that you are throwing out the door, that they could throw out the door this trade deadline for Bush and Edmondson, came out yesterday that they're both going to go to free agency because the Leafs are not going to be able to retain them because they're probably going to make too much.
Cool. And that got you like 20 games of each? Maybe? Less?
Jesse?
All right, and just spend them again, I guess. Like, it's this vicious cycle. And at the end of Matthews, Marner, and Nylander's prime, when they have hopefully accomplished something, but all evidence says probably not, you're going to have no one to replace them either. It's dark.
Steve, do you care to take on a challenge?
Go for it.
All right, you spent what was that, like half an hour talking about the Leafs and Mitch Marner and all that fun stuff. But
Well, I'm not hearing a criticism. Like I've laid it out. That's it. That's it.
I think it's obvious.
It's obvious. It's frustrating that people don't see what I see. It's not that I'm not open to other points of view. It's that no one has offered an adequate one.
Jesse.
Okay. Can I
Yeah,
go now?
go
Okay.
ahead.
So are you up for a challenge?
Yes.
All right. So you spent about half an hour talking about why the Leafs need to move on from Mitch Marner. Maddie, could you throw the timer in the bottom corner of Steve's solo? So
Oh boy.
there you go.
Okay.
Let's get it there. All right. So Steve, 1 minute and 56 seconds is on the clock because you can't condense what you said for half an hour. We can't chop that up and throw it on the socials or anything. It's too much.
Yeah.
I get that.
So I'm giving you a challenge here. 1 minute and 56 seconds is how many seconds?
120 minutes, 116.
116 seconds, which contains Mitch Marner's number.
Ah,
You suck.
That's awesome. That's funny.
So,
That's funny.
Steve Dangle,
Yes.
I am giving you 116 seconds to explain to the people that will only see this clip and not listen to the half an hour of you talk about why they should make this move.
Got it.
Explain to the people who will just watch the 116 Mitch Marner seconds why it is crucial for the Leafs to move on from this player. 3, 2, 1, timer started.
The argument against the Leafs keeping their core four forwards together is not emotional. It is not a vendetta against a certain player. It is cold, hard fact. It is based in logic and it is based in numbers. The Toronto Maple Leafs core four this upcoming season will make $46,653,000. The Bruins, Panthers, Oilers, Rangers, Stars, Vegas Golden Knights, Avalanche, and Tampa Bay Lightning. That list of teams encompasses the team that beat the Leafs in last year's playoffs, all 4 teams that made it to the Final Four this year, and every Stanley Cup champion in the post-COVID era. The team closest to them in terms of their most expensive 4 players is the Colorado Avalanche, who still, their core 4 of Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar, and Devon Taves, their core 4 is $8,553,000 less than what the Leafs are spending. The argument that lots of other teams do this is false. It is not true. No other team does this. And the teams that are even within a ballpark region of the Toronto Maple Leafs do not do this with 4 forwards. None of those teams that I mentioned do it with 4 forwards. The plan to just let John Tavares walk at the end of this year, that's $11 million coming off the salary cap. That's not a plan either.
30 seconds
It's
remaining.
not a plan. $11 million comes off the books. Wipe your hands clean of it. Let's say Mitch Marner extends for 11.5. That's what William Nylander got. He's probably not. It's going to be more than that. Let's say it's 11.5.
16 seconds.
Joseph Woll needs a contract extension. Matthew Nyes needs a contract extension after next season. And you're still going to need a second line center. It all gets eaten up. The core 4 cannot stay together if they want to win.
Woo! Hey, that was well done.
That's really loud.
That was a really loud hotkey, Jesse. Now,
There it is.
now, Jesse, do you still have the Leafs press conference up?
I can, yeah. What time do you want?
I want you to go to 8:47 because there was a conversation. Kevin Weeks reported that there is a deal in place. Now, he can't sign this until July 1st, and technically speaking, they're not even supposed to be talking about it till July 1st.
Oh, no, and they never. Nor
They
would-
never would. They never would. There was a rumor about Joseph Woll earlier this week from Kevin Weeks, and I think what's notable about Joseph Woll is the extension is supposed to be 3 to 4 years at $3.5 to $4 million. It's notable that not a single other insider corroborated that.
It is.
And I
It
checked,
is.
and from what is being said, no one else can confirm it.
Wait,
so
so
this
might have
is-
jumped the gun.
So the potential jumping
Oh,
of the
you said
gun.
Weeksy.
Mhm.
You said Weeksy might have jumped
Yeah.
the gun? I thought you said Steve might have jumped. I was like, hey, I didn't see
Oh,
it.
no. I said Weeksy.
Weeksy might have jumped
Weeksy
the
might
gun.
have jumped the gun there.
But here's what Brad Treliving had to say about it, because I think it's one of those things that it's rare to get one insider saying something and none of the others even tweet about it.
Yeah, like,
like a major league hockey.
3-on-3 league.
Let's play the clip.
You weren't wrong just early.
We've got to we feel we got a real good goalie, and I talked about it at the end of the year in Joe Woll, like a really good goalie. We also talked at the end of the year about, he's had some unfortunate instances of getting injured. Now, you study that. Is there a pattern? Is this, and again, now touch wood, sometimes with goaltenders, I look at it a little bit. Is it hips? Is it groins? Is it those? He's had some things that just have happened, right? That sometimes you get injured. So certainly we want to help him stay upright. But no question, I don't see an internal candidate right now that we're going to promote with Joe. So that's, whether that be the trade market, whether that be through free agency, we've certainly got to look at the goaltending.
Okay, let's pause it there. Now, this is a player who has started 34 games.
Is that regular season and playoffs?
No, that's just regular season.
Okay.
Playoffs actually surprisingly high. He started 4 games in the playoffs, but he's played 7. He has played in 36 NHL games. Mm-hmm. Joe Woll's 24 years old. People forget this. And sorry, he's not 24. He's 20. He's going to be 26 by the time the season starts.
He's a 2016 draft pick.
No wonder people forget that he's 24.
Because
he's not.
Because that was 2 years ago. That's why they forgot.
That's why they forgot.
Yeah.
Now this guy's numbers are great. Even last year, where his numbers dipped down, 276 goals against average and a 912 save percentage. But at 36 games played in, 34 started. Mm-hmm. His entire career to this point encapsulates a pretty good backup goaltender's stats over one season. And I understand there have been injuries.
Yeah.
I was the one saying after 7 games last year, this is the goalie of the future. I think that he is. But I have a real problem, and it goes back to your cap thing. Mm-hmm. I have a real problem signing this guy before he's made them do it. Because if, and you remember Brad Treliving with Keith Pelly and Brendan Shanahan, and Brad said, listen, we got to find ways to keep this guy healthy. Is it training? Is it this? Is it that? At the end of the day, whatever it is, they could re-sign him if this report is true from Kevin, and I have no reason to believe it's not. Mm-hmm. If this is true, this is a player that's played 34 career games. Yep. This is a player that could go into camp, strain a hamstring or a groin, and we don't see him till December.
Or just not be very good.
And I don't understand.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think he is good. But
what would be the rush here? Why can't you wait till November? You waited till December for Nylander.
Adam, it sounds like
make them pay you.
It sounds like an obsession. Everything comes back to the core 4. The Leafs can't afford, literally can't afford, a scenario where Joseph Woll
is a $6 million goal
comes into this season, is a top 10 goalie in the league up until Christmas, and then they got to pay him not 7, that'd be too high, but $5-6 million. When you have a salary structure like the Toronto Maple Leafs, you have to take risks. You have to take risks and hope this guy's a unicorn. You're basically trying to fool the kid. You're giving him security. Mm-hmm. Hey, you know how you're injured all the time?
Yeah.
We're going to give you way too much money for the amount of games you've played. A preposterous amount of money for the amount of games you played. But we think you're going to be good. But it's in the back of our mind, and I know it's in the back of your mind, that you're hurt a lot. So we're going to give you probably less than you would earn at the end of this season, if it's a good one, but a lot more than you would earn at the end of the season if you end up getting hurt again.
So this is my issue with that. When I almost called him Sergei Samsonov. Mm-hmm. When Sammy got the Leafs to the second round, when Sammy was non-tendered by the Washington Capitals, then becomes the starter over Matt Murray. Oh my God, what a bleak time. I don't even think we realized. Sammy becomes the starter over Matt Murray, has a banger year, backstops them through the Tampa Bay Lightning, who were better than the Leafs in 4 of 5 games. They were better than the Leafs most of that series.
6 games.
6 games, excuse me.
Yeah.
They were better than 4. I think the Leafs were the better team 2 games in that series.
Yeah, they
you go back and you look
in 1 game. Yeah.
No, you go back and you look.
Game 6 especially, Sammy was the number 1 star of that game.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And then he gets injured in the second round. The Leafs extend him 1 year, and they pay him how much?
3.5.
3.55.
Oh,
So-
3.55 after going to arbitration.
Why?
After going to arbitration.
Why?
And
After
assassinating his
after
confidence.
getting the Leafs to the second round for the first time in 19 years, the Leafs only had to pay Sammy $3.55.
Mhm.
Why are we going to extend this goalie who, and again, he was great in the playoffs. He was great in the playoffs against the Panthers. He was great in Boston. He was great when Sammy was awful last year, unplayable last year. And then what happened? Woll got injured once in the regular season when he was doing well, came back, wasn't great, and then somehow drew in the playoffs and was fantastic again until what? He got injured. What are we doing? You're going to pay him more than you paid Sammy? Sammy got you to the second round. And I'm not saying they should bring back Sammy. I'm just saying that number is completely out of whack.
It
And
is.
the best comparable I can give is Jake Sanderson. And Jake Sanderson's big deal last year, which we all freaking laughed at, Jake had a really good year in Ottawa. He's one of the only players on that roster with a plus on those plus minus. That was a terrible team. He played 2 more minutes a game. He scored double-digit goals. And that team was atrocious. They couldn't score. They couldn't move the puck. They couldn't do anything. The Jake Sanderson bet is understandable. And they don't have $1 bazillion at the top end of their cap. What are we doing? I love Joseph Woll. I want him to be the starter.
Yeah.
Earn it.
There are guys who, well, no, Adam, no. Because okay, what do you think Joseph Woll could be?
I think he could be a top 10 goaltender in the league. That's how I feel about Joseph Woll. I am that confident in this guy.
I think he can be a starting goaltender. The Toronto Maple Leafs think he can be a starting goaltender. He thinks he can be a starting goaltender. Starting goaltenders don't make the amount of money that you want him to make. That's why you lock him up now.
He's not yet. He's not.
Okay.
You aren't until you are.
But you pay him $3 or $4 million now, because if he actually gets to where you and he and everyone seems to think he could get to, he's going to make more. You're looking at Sanderson, and Kaprizov is another guy who like played no games and then got this huge extension. You got to look at goalies, and like
Kaprizov had a
I know
banger.
I know. That's why forwards don't work here. So I'm thinking like,
Show me a goalie that this has ever worked for.
well, the only one I can think of is like Jordan Binnington, who played like no games, but also won a Stanley Cup. But he got a lot more. He got, I think it's like 5.6.
And has been
Or $6 million
iffy and
bucks.
so ever since.
It's weird. He's been unusable and like elite.
Yeah.
It sort of depends.
Yep.
On how he's feeling or how many fights he's tried to start. The Leafs have to take this risk, or feel like they have to take this risk, because of the dumb ass donkey complexion of their salary cap.
If Joe Woll plays 34 games again next year, even if his numbers are the same, something terrible has gone wrong.
Yep.
And that is he's gotten injured and missed 20.
Yep.
And if that's the case, that contract's a disaster.
Yep.
If that continues.
If that's
It
the
is.
case, then the contract doesn't matter because he'll be on LTIR and you get the cap space back.
I suppose.
Am I the only one who doesn't think like what was Weeks' extension? What did he
between
propose?
3.5 and 4 million, and
If it's-
between 3 and 4 years.
Let's say it's $3.5 million or even like $4 million. I don't think that it's that much. For
It's a good contract.
I just can't.
People are getting
like-
lost in the game.
I cannot
I think it's a
stand-
good contract.
These guys earn it first, please.
I get
have
that.
no problem with Nylander. I have no problem with Nylander earning the money he got. He earned it.
Yeah.
He earned it.
I agree.
And he earned it on the first contract. And people forget, like, you know, when the Leafs signed Mitch Marner, he's coming off a 94-point season. When the Leafs signed Matthews, he's coming off a 60-goal season, whatever. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But like, we need to earn this. We need to earn this.
Here's what I'm going to make some assumptions. The educated guesses here. So Samsonov signs for 3.55 after going to salary arbitration. You go, well, he signed for that after getting the Leafs to the second round. And Sammy probably went, what the hell? I got you to the second round. And what the Leafs probably did was go, yeah, but the majority of your track record before joining us sucked ass, and we made you good. We want to bring you back, but we made you good. You can extrapolate that maybe that hurt his confidence. going forward after that arbitration hearing, and that affected the first 3-4 months of his season.
I don't think it was that.
I don't know.
Alan and I talked about arbitration. By the way, it's not like that anymore.
It's not like that anymore?
It's not
Thank
combative
goodness.
at all. They've stopped doing that.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
Alan has a really good take on arbitration in one of our episodes.
Well, either way, Samsonov's problem was he had a track record
Of being up and down.
of mostly down.
And we've got
And-
a goalie who's a track record of being injured.
Yeah. But, when I'm in net,
He's great.
And-
I love Woll.
Woll also has leverage.
Yeah, who you got? Because
Who you-
Treliving just said,
He-
we got nobody.
He showed his hand. But I think Hildeby is going to be an NHL goalie. I think Artur Akhtimov is going to be an NHL goalie. They're not yet. Those guys are 5 years younger than Woll. 4 or 5 years younger than Woll. They don't have anyone coming up immediately. They literally don't have anyone else. They have to sign free agents. Woll has so much leverage here. The cons are, I get hurt sometimes. The pros are, I'm really good and you have no one else. So pony up or I can wait and charge you more. The Leafs have put themselves in a position of perpetual extortion. And it's going to be really difficult for them to win with the way things are
I
built
think
right
you make
now.
a really good point there.
If
Go ahead,
Joseph
Jesse, sorry.
Woll gets paid $4 million, currently he would be the 25th highest goaltender in the National Hockey League.
It's not
He'd
a
be-
disaster.
He'd be tied with Jonas Korpisalo and Jake Ottinger, who will also make $4 million.
Wow. So, maybe we just got to adjust our expectations, and not everyone can be signed to the Igor Shesterkin contract, which can you like put an agent in prison for
But
signing a contract?
if-
Like you probably ought to be able
If
to.
you tell me going into the 25-26 season, that'd be next season, right? Yeah, got my guess right.
that after this up.
Yeah,
yeah.
that following season when his RFA deal kicks in, like this new one that he's going to sign, Joseph Woll is the 25th highest goaltender in the National Hockey League. I'd say, sounds about right.
Well, and then
I
number's going
probably-
to go down probably, right?
Because guys are going to get signed in between that, like all the free agent deals that'll be signed this offseason and next offseason. And with the cap going up, I'd be like, 25th highest paid goaltender is about the right area Joseph Woll should be.
Okay.
Adam's reservations are valid.
Yeah.
They are. But I have enough
No, I'm
confidence.
stupid. Just read the comments section.
Yeah, no. Your reservations about
I
this deal-
understand where you're coming from, where like he's proven nothing.
Yeah.
Like, but why are the Leafs so eager
And I
to give
love
out
him.
contracts to guys who have proven nothing? That's
Well-
that's 100% a thing that happens in Toronto very often.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
it's not that they've proven nothing,
Mhm.
but Marner, Matthews, Nylander, and Tavares, when they signed their contracts, what had they done? They'd won nothing.
Right.
They'd won nothing.
Yep.
That's a vicious, real fact.
Mhm.
And what's still the case?
They've won nothing. Listen,
I'm struggling with this.
it's like a movie with a really good trailer. That's Joseph Woll right now. Listen, the movie might suck. Damn, the trailer looks good. And the trailer's going to make
Trailer
me,
looks great.
the trailer makes me want to watch the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, outside
Okay.
of outside
I'm
of the
turning.
context of him not really having accomplished anything in the National Hockey League, I think where he would slot in would be correct in what we've seen in terms of his playoff performance when he's been healthy. It's been good, like that's okay. And it's also they haven't done this yet.
Yeah. You know what, Jesse? And you know what?
Like who knows when it actually comes in?
This is
because
why I'm
as you started this conversation is like no other inside has corroborated his report, Kevin Weeks's. So we'll see what it actually comes out to.
Now, if the Leafs could score anything, and they were dummied by the Bruins on that side of it.
Mhm.
And I understand that Nylander had his head thing. I understand Matthews was hurt or
Injuries
sick.
happen.
Injuries happen. But let me just run you through the 3 games, but 2 that he started. This is what's so tantalizing
Oh,
about
I
this
know.
player.
I know.
Do you know what Woll's stats were when he was playing?
He probably made 76 out of 78 saves.
I'll just give you the stat. 2 wins, right? 3 games. Goals against average of a 0.86. Save percentage of a 9.64 in the playoffs.
Wow.
So even with the Leafs and their absolute anemic trash power play, their bullshit 5-on-5, their terrible zone entries.
Should be good.
They're
All their
not-
money's spent
they're-
in 4 guys.
They're absolute like if you go back and you watch those games,
They
and
should
I
spend
do
more
encourage
on
you to,
forwards.
nothing burger. Just crap when it comes to the offensive side, which is so embarrassing because that's where all their money is.
No, they should. They
They still could have won that series if they got numbers like that from the goaltender.
Yeah.
And how good does your defense really need to be if your goalie just won't let anything in?
Yeah, just simply won't. And
So maybe
listen,
that's the defenseman up. That's the defensive upgrade that they're looking for.
So the problem is the forwards. Extend all of them and add more.
yes,
And
exactly.
make Morgan Riley play with mailmen.
Now we're going to keep moving here. Ken Holland told the Oilers today that he's not going to be back. This is a report from Darren Dreger. Ken Holland has officially told the Oilers that he will not return to the team next season in any capacity. And while Holland is now free to talk to other teams, he has not yet done so and is expected to take some time before deciding on what his next move will be. Now, what is surprising about this is it was Ken Holland who told the Oilers, which, okay, sure, maybe.
Yeah.
But secondly, his market value is arguably up. His team just lost the Stanley Cup by a goal in Game 7.
I feel like I was the only person still under the impression that he was going to retire at the end of the year. I thought going into this, in December we talked about oh yeah, Ken Holland's going to be out. And,
We kind of did.
and then that
Yeah.
kind of fell by the wayside, and still people were like, oh, is he coming back? I was like, I thought we all decided he was done.
My Mandela effect is this was always the plan.
yeah. So
And-
yeah. I thought
Didn't they say this?
Yeah, I thought this was always the plan when Jeff Jackson took over. We were all like, okay, so Ken Holland's moving on because he's old and done. And maybe I think the report where he told them that he's not coming back and he's moving on is because they probably gave him one of the premier slots that they have in the Edmonton Oilers organization, where it's like, hey, you've worked here.
Yeah.
Here's an advisory role.
You
where
get to be in the
sit-
owner's box.
You get
with
to
Wayne.
sit in the box with all the other old
Talk about
Oilers
watches.
guys. And I assume they said, Ken Holland, we got a seat here. It's pretty. It's next to the Gretzky one. It's over there since you did so much good for the organization. And you can just be an Oiler for life. And here's your special advisor role. And he just said, I'll just sit at home for a little bit.
Let's play a game.
I'm like, okay, it's not that crazy that he's moving on. He just didn't want the advisor role.
One more news thing I just want to get
No,
before
Steve
you
wanted to play a game.
It's just a quick thing for
Okay, go.
Ken Holland. Quick
Okay.
thing. How old is he on November 10th of this upcoming year?
I have no idea.
68.
He is 68 now.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So he will be
That's pretty
turning
nice.
69.
Oh.
Wow.
Just hockey guys don't retire.
No. But this was like Ken Holland's retirement party, but he's never going to really retire because he works in hockey, and you can work in hockey until they put you in a casket.
Isn't Cliff Fletcher still with the Leafs? He was
Yes.
old when I was a boy.
Yeah,
He had a full head of white hair when I was a little boy.
like advisor. It's just one of those funny roles where they give you.
Remember Paul McLean too?
Yes, he's been an old man for the entirety of my life.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. In the
Same with
90s.
Lou.
When
I
he
am
traded for
36.
Gilmore. He was old when he was the GM of the Flames.
Lou's still going.
Lou's
and
82, I think.
He's been old since we've been alive.
Is Cliff Fletcher still in?
I'm looking at the front office list of the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, and I can't find Cliff Fletcher. So it
What?
looks like he's not.
He's not like in the ticketing
Oh,
department.
here we go. Is any more? No, that's Marley's. No, it looks like Cliff Fletcher is officially not. with
Another
the team.
Mandela effect.
There you
Gosh darn it.
Well, they should have announced his retirement. Why did they
Director
do
of
that?
goaltending and is Curtis McElhinney? I forgot about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go. How you doing? He's a pretty good backup, ain't he?
Interestingly, there was a report out there from Scotty Upshaw that Ken Holland was going to the Blackhawks. Checked in on this, was told fake news, at least for the moment.
Ooh.
So there you go. Now, it doesn't mean, by the way, that that's not happening. Because it could be that they've offered him a contract and he's thinking about it. He said he'll take significant time. He won't. He'll be signed in the next week or two.
I don't know.
No, for sure he will. I do know. These guys, listen. Let's be honest.
Yes.
We love doing this show, right?
Let's lie.
No.
I want to.
We love doing this show.
Yes.
Do any of us harbor expectations that we will still be doing this show at 70?
Fuck no.
Right.
Absolutely not.
So the reason that I believe Ken Holland will sign in the next couple of weeks is because these guys cannot. You will pry them from the league dead.
Mm-hmm.
Lou's gonna die in a position somewhere, and that will be the way to go out for him. That's what that's Lou will die. and in a position, and it will be sad, and he will be honored, and all of those things. But like these guys, once they're in, they're like, I'm staying in. I guess it's a pretty wicked job.
This is
And I love our job.
This is what I said about Don Cherry. Like when people were talking about when he got fired, I'm like, there were only ever two options. Is he was gonna die or get fired.
Yeah.
He was never quitting.
No.
He was never going to quit. So yeah, no, this was the way it was always going to end.
Steve,
Yes.
to add to this conversation, we have a correction.
Oh.
Cliff Fletcher is still with the Toronto
Let's
Maple
go!
Leafs.
I figured they would have announced
I
it.
knew it.
At 88 years old,
That's insane.
Cliff Fletcher is still a senior advisor with the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is a man who was with, this is from editor in Leaf, who wrote this last summer as Brad Treliving came to the organization.
Yeah.
Cliff Fletcher is going to be there to senior advise for him.
That's
so
cool.
he's currently doing it. So yeah, this is a man who was with the franchise as far as back as 1991 as the team's chief operating officer, president, and general manager. And he's still there.
He was born August 16th, 1935. I'm going to look up August 16th, 1935 and see what pops up. What happened? No, he wasn't there for World War I.
World War no.
Maddie,
Matt said he was there for World
Nobody
War
is
I.
alive that was there for World War One. Nobody is alive.
Yeah.
World War II.
World War II.
Two, yes.
Yeah.
That's
I said that
crazy.
recently too. What was I talking about?
He's still working.
Oh, I was talking about the comeback, the 03 comeback that the Leafs had over the Red Wings, because some of the players were overseas in World War II, were they not?
Oh,
Cliff Fletcher
and
was 7.
when that happened.
No, 6.5 when the Leafs came back from a 3-0 deficit against the
he
Red
was
Wings.
there.
He was there.
Where did Cliff grow up? I want to know.
I assume Toronto.
I hope so. Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Ooh, hiss.
I can't even read this day in histories because like I don't know any of the names involved.
Like Cliff Fletcher's parents would have struggled through the Great Depression.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
like that's crazy that he's still 88. So this is what I'm saying. Like, it must be sick to work in the NHL because none
course.
of these guys fucking want to go. They're all like, no, keep me, please.
This
So
week,
Ken Holland will get a new contract. I
this
guarantee
week
it.
is the 20-year anniversary from when Cliff Fletcher was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yo, there's got to be some kind of record.
He was inducted in 2004.
Wow.
So this is because they just did the Hall of Fame announcement, so it'd be 20 years ago.
I love
And he-
it. I love it,
just
Jesse.
working in hockey
I love it.
still.
Okay, sorry. So I couldn't find anything from August 16th, 1935. So it just, what happened in 1935? February 26th, so this was a few months before Cliff Fletcher was born.
Okay.
Radar, radio detection and ranging, first demonstrated by Robert Watson Watts and Arnold Wilkins at Daventry, England.
Yes.
What is that?
Radar?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Means
radar.
bouncing sound off of moving objects.
like ship stuff.
Like how bats
well,
talk.
actually, they didn't start it on ships. From what I understand, they started it off the British coast. It's what won them the Battle of Britain.
There you go.
They could see the planes coming.
Adolf Hitler on March 16th orders German rearmament in violation of the Treaty of Versailles.
Let's not read Hitler facts. I don't.
That was a big one.
July 30th,
That's huge.
first Penguin book is published, starting the paperback revolution.
Hey, aren't you working
Holy
with them?
shit! What?
Aren't you working?
I'm HarperCollins.
he's
How
HarperCollins.
friggin' dare you?
Yeah.
Communist
that.
forces end their long march at Yan'an in shit. Like, do you this? He's old. Is
Cliff
what we're getting
Fletcher
at. He's old.
was the GM of the 1981 Canada Cup team. Not like he was.
Wait, Jesse. No, fuck that. ISO cam on Jesse. You look down the barrel of that thing and you say that again.
Cliff Fletcher was the general manager of the 1981 Canada Cup team.
Can I?
What? 7 years before I was born?
Yeah.
Holy he was the general manager of Team Canada before Mark Giordano was born.
That's when putting Wayne Gretzky and Guy Lafleur on a team was like a big thing. That was a big
Gretzky-
thing, adding Gretzky to that team. They
Gretzky
were like,
was like a sophomore,
yeah,
third
in the
year
NHL,
player.
in the NHL. Yeah. I want to throw this at you.
He was last fact. He was a scout for the Blues in 1966.
Like
They weren't a team yet.
That was their expansion year.
That's
They
so
weren't a
nuts.
team yet.
Cliff Fletcher worked for the first year expansion St. Louis Blues.
He worked
in
for the Blues
1960.
At the height of
Before
Beatlemania.
they played a game.
That's how long this
I
man
wanna
has
tell
been
you-
in hockey.
Holy mackerel.
Cliff Fletcher
Wow.
has been alive longer than Newfoundland has been a part of Canada. He was 14 when Newfoundland joined
Stop.
Canada.
Stop.
14 years old when Newfoundland joined Canada.
dude, this one's nuts. So he was born August.
keep it going. Keep it going.
This is the rest of the show now.
How old is Cliff Fletcher?
Dude, August 16th. I'm not making fun of him.
It's
It's
crazy.
unbelievable. I will not be working when I'm this age.
No.
Absolutely not. I don't have the drive. I am too lazy. Hats off to Cliff Fletcher. But holy moly, several months after he was born, physicist Edwin Schrödinger publishes his famous thought experiment, Schrödinger's cat, a paradox that illustrates the problem of the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. Schrödinger's cat is younger than Cliff Fletcher. That's nuts. First Major League Baseball game in Cincinnati.
All right, let's move
Okay,
on. Let's move on.
last thing.
Ken Holland's going to sign.
The first team that Cliff Fletcher ever worked for were the Montreal Canadiens, where he's from. He started out as a scout for the team. It was for the 1955-56 Montreal Canadiens. On that team, Jean Beliveau, Rocket Richard, Toe Blake was the coach, Jacques Plante was the goaltender. That is the team that Cliff Fletcher started for. Started working.
No more.
Last
no more.
one.
We
Last
have
one.
to move on.
No,
We
last
have to
one.
move on.
Last one.
That's it.
Okay,
I
we
want
got to
one
move
more.
on, guys. Okay, go one more. We got to move on. We got other stuff we got to do.
2 months before Cliff Fletcher was born, baseball Hall of Famer slugger Babe Ruth announces his retirement as a player at 40 years of age.
That's a good one.
That is a good
The Stars are going to buy out Ryan Suter's contract as of this morning. It will save them $1.4 million, and it will add $1.4 million to their cap for the next 2 seasons. So Ryan Suter is one of the first double buyout guys. Another one was Tony DeAngelo. I thought that Vincent LeCavalier was also a double buyout guy, but apparently not. He was bought out, I believe, by Tampa, then signed by Philly, and then bought out, and he finished off in Chicago, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
vaguely.
Yeah. But I thought he was a double buyout guy, but maybe his contract had expired.
I think he was bought out twice, but wasn't necessarily being paid at the same time by
Both teams, yeah.
Whereas Suter will, if he signs with a new team, will be paid by 3 different hockey teams.
Yeah, and DeAngelo was the only other guy to have that.
In theory, Suter could sign a contract with the team, then get double retention traded to someone and be paid by 5 teams.
Jeff Skinner is reportedly going to be bought out, although we have not heard that yet. That's going to be a significant hit on the cap situation for the Buffalo Sabres.
That cap hits.
That sucks. And actually, should we pull it up? Should we go through it just very quickly?
Yeah, it's up there, Matty.
So you're looking at
you.
cap hit of 1.4 this year, 4.4 the next year, 6.4 the next year, and 3 more years at $2.4 million. This is a player that still scored close to 30 goals. He does nothing defensively, but this is a player who will be very valuable to whatever team picks him up. And I feel like maybe they just needed to move on from each other.
Yeah.
However, this player who has never played in a playoff game,
It's crazy.
I hope signs and gets a playoff game.
I don't mind this buyout at all
No,
because
why not?
of those.
But it's still young.
Those first 2 years are fucking awesome. You get this young core in Buffalo who looked good coming on the end of the season. They always look good when things aren't on the line anymore. But that $7.5 million you get this offseason, the $4.5 next year, I'll take that cap space over having Jeff Skinner on the lineup for $9 million. That's a good little trade.
2.4 for the final 3 years. You don't really give a damn.
Yeah, because like at this point in Buffalo, you got to be like, something's got to give. We got to make the playoffs. We at least have to be competitive for the playoffs. Let's go spend this nearly $8 million on more places on our lineup that can get us to that point.
It's $19.666 million spread over 6 years instead of $27 million spread over 3.
He has played 1,000 games, not a single one of them in the playoffs, by the way.
I have a question. that I was thinking about because I saw naturally there's a player available now, and Leaf fans are like, Leaf! And it's possible. So here's the thing I was thinking about. And I don't think the Leafs should do this, but let's think about it. What does Nick Robertson top out as? What's best case scenario for Nick Robertson?
Hall of Famer.
25 goal scorer.
I think Nick Robertson, smallish guy, tenacious, can score. I don't know. Doesn't that sound like Jeff Skinner?
Yeah, he's going to, like, Nick Robertson, I think, if he gets the ice time, he's going to score 20 goals next year. Now, he's going to do
score more.
He's going to do some stuff that drive coaches crazy.
Yeah.
He's got some weird decisions.
Yeah.
It's why Keefe didn't trust him. But if you can, he's a good depth scoring guy and a great shot.
Now,
and so does Jeff Skinner.
I'm not saying get rid of Nick Robertson because, you know, a boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat. But like if you sign Jeff Skinner to a reasonable deal, could you then trade Nick Robertson for something else that your team needs?
Probably. Now, I
don't want to do that. I'm just saying it's an option.
The comparison between what we're comparing with Nick Robertson and Jeff Skinner, the difference is that I don't ever see Nick Robertson getting above 50 points. I do. Jeff Skinner had 82 2 years ago. So,
like, that's the thing. Like, he wasn't very good this past year. His 2 previous seasons were really good.
33 and 35 goals. He still had 24 last year in an off year. And by the way, look at the other players on Buffalo who didn't have a good year. All of them.
He Phil Kesseled himself. Like, you shouldn't be building a team around this guy.
No.
He made too much. And I think cap hit clouds a player's reputation. This is a good player.
Yep.
Could Nick Robertson with better skating be Johnny Gaudreau?
Oh,
If you compare their builds, they're nearly identical.
Yes.
They also both play left wing, and they're both left shooting left wingers. 5'9", about 170. They have the same build at the core of themselves.
Johnny's hockey IQ though is
It's
through the roof.
10 out of 10. Nick Robertson's is probably at the lowest peak it'll ever be. In terms of his career. He's 22 years old still.
Yep.
His skating needs like tenfold improvement. But do you think there's a path to where he can kind of be that sort of player?
I don't like pulling this card. Here we go. Slam it down on the table. I have been in the room with both of these men. Bullshit. They're the same weight. Robertson's got at least 15 pounds on him.
It's about
Robertson's bigger than you think.
163, 178. So yeah, you're right.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, I was bang on. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just averaged. I said they're about 170 each, but
No, they're not. One's 15 pounds heavier than the other.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I'm gonna give you 15 pounds.
I took 7, moved it up. Took 8, moved it down.
Okay.
So yeah.
I was like, no, they are.
If you want to get into specifics, yeah.
Oh, okay.
178, 163 Robertsons. You nailed it.
How many points does Johnny Gaudreau have? And
last season?
No. Sorry. How many career games does he have?
763.
As a 163-pound player.
Yeah.
He's a miracle. He's a miracle. Like that he hasn't been squished like a bug.
That's according to Hockey DB.
Dude. Wow. Good for him.
Yeah. So fascinating.
So no? Nick Robertson can't be Johnny Gaudreau?
No.
That'd be sick.
No.
But I don't think so.
I would love to be wrong on that, by the way.
All right.
But I don't think so.
I like my Skinner comparison. Like he's a sniper. He's a shooter. Whereas Gaudreau is sort of like, more of a finesse guy.
American-born small left winger?
All right. Oh, okay. Birth certificate matters now?
Yeah.
All right. For this conversation. What if he's like, everyone's favorite. He's like if Jeff Skinner and Johnny Gaudreau had a baby.
All right.
Everyone
Let's
loves
move on. I want to quickly mention a couple of things before we get to the actual rant that you wanted to go on.
Oh my God, I forgot.
We're coming up on like 2 hours.
I know, but this is going to be a long show. Very quickly, Alex Nedeljkovic has re-signed in Pittsburgh, and from what we knew beforehand, nobody seemed to think that the Penguins are going to be able to get that done. That means that the extension, which I will tell you that I was against last year, that they signed Tristan Jarry to, might mean that Tristan Jarry's on the move. This is a player who is super good until he's super not. What do you think?
Always puts up great numbers and then goes for a little walk in the park.
When the pressure's on, when you need him, it's like, wow, 5-hole goal with a nothing burger shot. That's great.
Sounds like a Leaf.
Sounds like a perfect Leaf. No, but I do think adding a goalie like that to the market because, listen, he did put up good numbers and Markstrom didn't put up great numbers and Markstrom got a first. What do you think Tristan Jarry could get? The Penguins are in a different situation. They need to remove cap. I get it.
Yeah.
But that could be a pretty valuable piece and underrated.
Yeah.
If you get him for next to, like, if you're not giving up the first round pick, as I don't think you are, and you add $5 million, there's a lot of teams who would take a guy like that.
I'm trying to think what the comparable is. I was going to say Mackenzie Blackwood, but Blackwood was coming off a friggin' horrible season.
Yeah.
Sharks picked him up for a 6th. And then he was really good on a team that was really, really ass. Less than you think, man. This probably tops out at like a late first rounder, maybe,
I don't think so.
which Dubas will then trade back.
Yeah, no, they're not getting a first round for this guy.
No.
Why would you give up?
I was
Every
trying to
team
be
that
nice.
has a late first rounder is going to be probably a team that has a good goalie.
No, a first rounder's Markstrom.
Yeah, Markstrom. Well, okay. So Markstrom fetched a first.
Next year.
Hallmark fetched a first with strings attached. Remember Nedeljkovic got traded for a third and we were all like, what?
Sure feels like that.
But
But I think whatever
in
team
and around
gets
that neighborhood.
whatever team gets him, if they have a strong defensive system, is actually probably going to do pretty well.
Oh,
That-
yeah.
It will be a good deal for them.
I don't think he's a bad goalie. I think he's a mystifying goalie.
Yeah. One quick thing before we get to the Hall of Fame. Sean Shapiro did an article I encourage you to read in The Athletic about the Jake Walman trade, which has perplexed Detroit fans. He made the same amount of money as Justin Hall. He was traded with a second round pick to San Jose. Steve did a whole breakdown video, but here's the part that I think you guys would find interesting. Based off of some of Sean's conversations and reading reports from others, there were multiple teams that would have been interested for trading for him, but Yzerman didn't shop him around.
I don't believe that was in The Athletic. I think it was on his Substack.
Oh, it's on his Substack.
Yeah.
Sharp Shot Hockey. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, I read that. Yeah, no, it's a great little piece he wrote there. It's popped up on my screen. Just code a Joshua extension.
Jesse's got a big piece of breaking news. Wow.
And here's the
But-
other thing. Sean said, I know for a fact that the Sharks would have claimed him on waivers. So why did they trade the second round?
It's shocking when you outline what Yzerman did with Walman because he didn't have to do this.
Guys-
He literally could have just put him on waivers and other teams would have taken him off his hands without having to pay the pick at all.
Red Wings fans, when do we have to talk? You know? Legend. Team legend. You should build a statue for Steve Yzerman.
Mhm.
Just make sure it's not wearing a suit.
well,
Because I
think-
don't get this guy.
I think
every year he does something where you're like, I don't get it.
I told you last year, I said he had a terrible offseason. I thought he had a terrible summer. And then the Red Wings went out red hot, and people were like, "See, you're." I'm like, "Well, what did they end up with?"
Yeah.
I think what happened was they made a decision that are we keeping Walman or are we keeping Hall? They have a ton of cap space to spend, so we're midway through a plan here. I'm not saying it's great asset management, but I think they chose Justin Hall.
Okay, so you choose Justin Hall. Why don't you put Jake Walman on waivers?
I don't know.
What is I can't find an answer to that question.
I don't know.
Because that is the simplest way to get rid of this contract because somebody in the league will take it. Well, the San Jose Sharks are 32nd in the league in the standings. That means they are first in the waiver order. If they wanted Jake Walman, they would have had first priority to take him. And, Yzerman's just like, okay, even if we put him there and you take him, we're still going to give you this second round pick for free?
This isn't an adequate answer, but I'll try. So he made the deal Tuesday.
Yeah.
So you put him on waivers Tuesday. You don't get an answer till Wednesday. And if no one claims him, then you only have Thursday to trade him before the draft.
I think moving him with the second round pick would then get rid of him to many teams.
Right. So what you're saying is they didn't even try it.
No,
Right.
I see. Even in your explanation, okay, he didn't get claimed. Then do the second round pick deal.
Like, even though you're clearing space for something bigger and you pull that bigger thing off, it's still difficult to justify what they did.
If you want to
You
get
could have
rid
done
of
this differently.
you could have done it entirely differently, where you save the second round pick. I read that and I was at a loss for words to be like, yeah, if it played out like that, why don't you just do it?
I agree.
And also, Sean Shapiro I think expertly pointed out, Yzerman, based on his reporting, Yzerman didn't shop it around.
Yes.
He didn't
He loves
call guys.
Loves fidgeting. He's
It's really weird.
Yeah.
And okay, you do this for the subsequent move. Who knows if that subsequent move happens, because there's no guarantee that you can sign X free agent, you can trade for X guy. That might never happen. If it's Stamkos, if it's Gensel, if it's Marty Nietzsche, those guys can also not come to your team.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they're only coming to your team if you give them the most. Like, your team is not the team people go to because it's like, all right, time to win.
Mm-hmm. You
I
haven't won.
And that's no, it's been a long time.
I also have a signing to announce. Dakota Joshua will be staying with the Vancouver Canucks for your contract, $3.25 million.
Jesse said that.
Oh, he did? Oh, sorry.
He didn't
I was
say
looking
the
at that.
amount of money.
And then the other thing was, and this isn't necessarily news, but Jake Trouba's name is out there in trades.
Yep.
And the Rangers have said, hey, give us your list because we need to know now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
15
mentioned that in
team-
the Marner stuff.
Oh, you did mention that in
Yeah,
Marner stuff?
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, but not with the list.
Okay, the list part I thought was new.
It's I thought CJ was great. If we want to go back to it, he said Jake Trouba at this point has become a luxury for the New York Rangers, and you'd love if the team in Toronto would look at big contracts as luxuries and move on from them instead of, hey, let's just hang on to the luxury. So
I love that.
great words by him.
You know
I
what?
love that.
The Rangers made it to the Final Four, and they can just settle for that. Some teams settle for less.
Last thing, and I know that the show's running long, but it's that time of year.
Mhm.
The Hall of Fame inductions were announced, and it's another year of Alexander McGillney not being inducted. Now, that's not where we're going with this, but I do want to say that that player won a Rocket Richard. He won a Lady Byng, first non-North American captain in NHL history.
Defect from the Soviet Union. They threatened his family.
Yeah. I don't know why people don't like Alexander McGillney. There seems to be, the NHL operates a bit like a crime family. So there seems to be a bit of, we're icing this guy. I don't know why.
It takes one guy on that board to not like you, and that's my guess.
I loved this player growing up, and I think it's criminal that he's not in. I just wanted to say that.
It's not an NHL Hall of Fame. It is a Hockey Hall of Fame. He also won gold medal at the Olympics, World Championships, and World Juniors, and then a Stanley Cup on top of that. He has everything. He's accomplished everything in the sport, and it's crazy that whoever I assume you'll get into some of the voting stuff. I don't know, because that's
no, I'll leave that for you.
okay. That's a side rant. That's my point about the Hockey Hall of Fame, where my biggest point of contention with the way they do things is it's a secret meeting. It's like they're choosing the Pope. And then you get the
smoke is black.
cloud of
And
smoke.
Smoke comes out of the hall.
Yeah, out of Bay Street, where the hall is located. It comes out of there, and you find out, okay, this is who they picked. It's a secret little committee of 16 people that go into this room, and they decide, and they come out, and they say, these are the people. And there's zero explanation for criteria, who voted for who's just in charge of the whole thing. And then we get results like this with no explanation as to why a guy who's accomplished everything in hockey can't make it to the Hall. That's the worst thing about this whole thing. And I'm losing respect for it year after year after year.
People should have lost respect for it when they wouldn't put Pat Burns in until after he passed.
To me, it's losing credibility as the governing body of the history of the game.
Sure. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, listen, if McGillney was somehow a bad guy, it's not the Hockey Hall of Good Guys, Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And I don't think that he was. There are no reports about that, by the way. And I think what's a shame here is it's taken away from some of the people that should be headlining this. Pavel Datsyuk.
Yep.
Natalie Darwitz.
Yep.
Chrissy Wendell-Pole. David Poyle.
Oh, yeah.
Roenick. And Weber, and by the way, Shea Weber too.
Yeah.
I don't think should Shea Weber be a first ballot Hall of Famer? I don't think so. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no.
I'm not
if
sure.
If McGillney's 0 for 15, I'm going to say no.
I don't think Shea Weber should be eligible. Frankly, he has not officially retired.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's also fair.
He's still getting paid by an NHL team.
Yeah. If Shea Weber is in the Hall of Fame, put Yager in the Hall of Fame. Like what?
Yeah, what the hell is that?
That's such a good point.
Like these are the little things when you just pick apart
Jesse Blake,
the little
everybody.
details of the Hockey Hall of Fame. They're a complete joke.
No,
Shea Weber's getting paid by an NHL team,
But-
and
Pronger got in as well. Pronger got in before.
Pronger, same thing. He got in while he's being paid by an NHL team.
I think
And
both by the Coyotes.
Yager, because he's playing overseas in a pro league that he owns, for a pro team that he owns, he can't get into the Hockey Hall of Fame. What? What is that? Doesn't make sense.
And the only
Yeah.
reason he plays for that team is to sell tickets. Because people will pay to see him play.
He's retired from the NHL, just like Shea Weber.
Jesse, though, it's not the NHL Hall of Fame. And you know what's funny about that, too, by the way? We're fine with the executives working. We're fine with the current commissioner going in. And that's why I wanted to bring this up. How do you think, and this leads in perfectly to Colin Campbell, how do you think the Gary Bettman voting year went? Gary made a call and said, I'm coming in this year. And the guy said, I guess Gary's coming in this year. Okay, puff that white smoke up the chimney. The Pope is in.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a little bit ridiculous. If we're going to randomly apply a rule that a player needs to be done with their career, why are we allowing people that are executives to be put in now? Why? Because executives usually work until they're 88 and then die.
Cliff
But you
Fletcher was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2004.
Wow.
And he's worked ever since. And he's still working. But that doesn't apply to these executives.
And-
Only the players have to be retired. But
a
if you
bullshit
work
rule.
in the game, you can still get in.
It's a bullshit rule.
Just put people in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry,
it's-
Roenick didn't win any awards, was never a first or a second team All-Star, never won a cup. Like, what are we talking
No,
about?
McGinley has like such a better case than Roenick, and it doesn't make any sense.
The name that I keep bringing up is Paul Kariya, just because he didn't reach 1,000 points, didn't reach 1,000 games. Injuries were a big part of that, and he would have. These past 2 years, we've had Pierre Turgeon and Jeremy Roenick. Like with Paul Kariya, you can go, yeah, that was a top 5, top 10 player in the league for at least some of his career. These guys,
Paul Kariya was
very
always
good.
better. Paul Kariya was always better than Jeremy Roenick. Always.
Yeah,
He was always better.
I don't disagree.
There wouldn't have been a person in the league. Jeremy Roenick was a really good second line center. That's his career.
He was a first.
On the Chicago Blackhawks for a minute in the early 90s.
I think you're being a bit hard.
I don't think
I
so.
think based on numbers, I think Jeremy Roenick it should be in the Hall of Fame. I think he put up enough counting stats to get in. I don't even think it's about him getting in. He should be in.
But if he's in,
the other guys should be in too.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with him. Not like
McGillney
taking
in a
away.
walk.
Yeah,
In a walk.
So I don't understand what they do there.
I don't understand either.
Corruption is what they do.
And I think the one we haven't mentioned is the one Steve wants to talk about. And go off, please.
Yeah. So no one.
By the way, Colin Campbell is the name you're about.
Oh yeah.
No,
Sorry.
no, call him by his name. It's Colin.
It's Colin.
No,
He likes to call himself Colin.
That's ridiculous.
Jesse.
No one ever with the name Colin has ever been Colin.
Powell.
What is
Now
that?
what?
Colin Powell.
Former Secretary of Defense.
Colin Powell is also spelled.
No, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
All
know
the
why you'd wanna
Collins-
I'd change my name to Colin. I don't want to be called Colin.
All the Collins in the world got to be upset about this.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Well, it's like
Stupid name.
it's like Dick Pound.
What a name.
You could go by Richard.
Yeah.
Rich. Call me Rick.
Colin Campbell, Steve Dangle.
Colin Campbell is a blight on the Hockey Hall of Fame and a stain on the reputation and integrity of the institution. Fewer people put it into better words than Jonathan Willis, who's a
Oilers writer.
Oilers writer, wrote for The Athletic for a while. I'm not sure who he writes for now, but I still follow him on Twitter. And here's what he said, responding, quote tweeting the Hockey Hall of Fame's tweet about Colin Campbell getting in with his smug little face. Colin Campbell, the league executive who used his position as vice president of hockey operations to lobby for the firing of referees who penalized his son, is heading to the Hockey Hall of Fame. He also used the same position to pursue a vendetta against a player, Mark Savard, who he disliked as an NHL coach. Charged with making a disciplinary decision on the blindside headshot that ended that player's career, he ruled it unworthy of suspension or even of fine. Giving such a man the highest career honor possible in hockey is a damning indictment of the Hockey Hall of Fame, its selection committee, and the secretive process it uses to select its candidates. It robs the Hockey Hall of Fame of credibility and tarnishes the sport. If you're baffled by all of this, don't be. The answer is in plain sight. I was part of the Hall's selection committee for 15 years, Campbell said, and now I get the call. The halls of NHL power have always preferred the right friends to merit. Incidentally, it remains inexcusable that the NHL didn't fire Campbell when he used his position to interfere with officiating on behalf of a family member. I'm cynical about the NHL, but the more I think about it, the more this Hockey Hall of Fame endorsement of league corruption angers me. I've brought this up before. I'll shout it from the rooftops until it stops being true, which is never. So deal with it. This is from a Greg Wyshynski article from November 15th, 2010, when it was unearthed that Colin Campbell had basically sent emails. They were in court documents because of a lawsuit, and his emails were subpoenaed, and whoops-a-daisy, here's corruption just in plain sight. From Greg Wyshynski 14 years ago. 14 years ago. The frequently profane communications about Warren was a former NHL ref, Warren's alleged incompetence had been previously reported in the media. The details Dello, as in Tyler Dello, discovered in the emails goes beyond that case and strike at the axle of the NHL's wobbly wheel of justice. The Colin Campbell emails aren't as much a revelation as much as a confirmation for his critics. They reveal criticism of officials who dared call disputed penalties on his son, Gregory Campbell, now a forward with the Boston Bruins. They reveal the candid, petty assessments by an NHL executive on the league's on-ice officials' performances. And most scandalously, they reveal a long-standing grudge Campbell holds against Bruins center Mark Savard, who's now an assistant coach with the Leafs. Have fun with that. And fans, I'm sure they're going to get a fair shake. And fans, he still works for the fucking league. And fans across the NHL are now wondering if that grudge may have come into play when Campbell let Matt Cook off without a suspension for concussing Savard last season. Have these revelations damaged Campbell severely in his position as NHL's disciplinarian? Or are they just a professional embarrassment and a tarnish on his reputation? Later in the article, the most damning portion of the emails is this exchange regarding a high-sticking call in February 2007 game. So this predates LFR. This is how long Colin Campbell has been a corrupt hunk of garbage in the National Hockey League. The players' names were redacted from Campbell. So here we go. A bend in the road is a dead end if you round the corner and Dean Warren is standing there. Dean Warren is an NHL ref. Your answer regarding his high stick calls and the score of the game were horseshit. The third call on player redacted was while they were down 5-on-4 and on a defensive zone faceoff versus that little fake artist redacted. I had him in redacted city, biggest faker going, and Warren fell for it when he grabbed his face on a faceoff. You're supposed to see the act, not call the embellishing act. Dean Warren has to go with redacted referee. There must be a way to get rid of this guy. Is there a way we can track and total minors called by referees this year? We could then get minors they called per game and blah, 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 blah. He continues. The emails were scrubbed to keep details a secret, but Dello narrowed them down via the evidence presented and came to a stunning conclusion. The only game that fit the scenario was a February 24th, 2007 game between the Florida Panthers and the Boston Bruins. The only player with 3 minor penalties in that game, Gregory Campbell, Colin Campbell's son, whose last penalty was a high stick. The player he allegedly hit with the stick that Campbell felt embellished as a little fake artist, that played for Campbell when Campbell was an NHL coach with the New York Rangers, Bruins center Mark Savard, according to Dello. This guy still works for the NHL. Still, what is he? President of hockey operations?
Yeah, I think he might be
Vice
a year or
president?
two away from being like moved out for somebody else.
He should have been moved out for anybody else in 2010 when this was discovered.
Yeah, I agree.
He has been trying to influence. He has been trying to ruin the careers of NHL officials.
Director of hockey operations.
He is the director of hockey operations for the National Hockey League. And he was caught red-handed being biased against certain players and trying to ruin the reputations and fire referees who called penalties against his son. This happened in 2007. It was discovered in 2010, and it's 2024. He still works for the NHL in a high-ranking position and was just inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's a fucking disgrace that he's inducted to the Hall of Fame. It's a fucking disgrace that he still works for the NHL, and everyone involved should be deeply ashamed of themselves that they are party to this corrupt hypocrisy. It is nonsense that Colin Campbell isn't completely ostracized and disgraced from the hockey world, let alone he gets a place in the annals of the most prestigious thing that they have in this sport. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Jesse, let's take a look at the Matt Cook on Mark Savard hit that Colin Campbell deemed not suspendable. I think it's important for context here because if you saw a hit like this today, I think the reaction would be very different. But remember, this is 2009, and we didn't know as much about concussions then as we do now.
March 7th, 2010.
Oh, 2010. Okay, here we go. So you'll see Mark Savard and you'll see Matt Cook. Matt Cook is the guy on the furthest right.
Yep.
And Mark Savard is the guy not looking at him who has just passed the puck. And if we could this is just a real slow, okay? And there's the hit. This hit is to the head, and it knocked Mark Savard completely unconscious. Now, if you don't remember, if you're not old enough to remember Matt Cook was among the worst goons to ever play in the NHL. Not because he was big, not even really because he was tough.
That angle's bad.
Not even really because he was tough, but because he was a snake and he would do shit like this. He was reviled, and usually tough guys are respected. This person was reviled by just about everybody.
Yeah, to Don Cherry's credit, he criticized him harshly on Hockey Night in Canada. And Matt Cook confronted him in person, and Cherry, who is decades older, shorter, smaller, everything. When Cook confronted him, he's like, "Yeah, and I'll tell you to your face right now, you're a rat." There's a photo of it. It's crazy. Good on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's again, interestingly, Gregory Campbell and Mark Savard eventually became teammates. Mark Savard now assistant coach with the Leafs. Gregory Campbell, AGM of the Florida Panthers, the Stanley Cup winning Florida Panthers.
And Vancouver Canucks fans have a legitimate gripe with the 2011 Stanley Cup final because after this story came out, that was the first Stanley Cup final. And what happened? Gregory Campbell's team beat the dog shit out of the Canucks with no repercussions whatsoever. And Aaron Rome, who it was a dirty hit, very, very, very dirty hit on Nathan Horton, knocking him completely unconscious, which is now against the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's against the rules because it didn't happen to Mark Savard. Now it's against the rules. It was a 4-game suspension in the middle of the Stanley Cup final. Had not happened before, has not happened since. The one time you could call that justice. You could call that what the suspension should have been. Never happened before, never happened again. And the one time that it did happen, it happened to Colin Campbell's son's hockey team. They benefited from it and won the Stanley Cup.
That's a coincidence.
Oh, yeah. It's a coincidence.
Kelly, by the way, ask Canuck fans how they feel about Kelly Sutherland.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Saying.
They have lots of gripes. And Kelly Sutherland, he wanted to keep his job because you got Fucko the Clown behind the scenes sending emails trying to get refs who call penalties against his son fired.
Now,
This
Paul
is the person
Dvorsky
they
did.
gave the highest honor of the sport.
Yeah. Paul. Now, to be fair, there's going to be people that point out that Paul Dvorsky said that Dean Warren was. He said, "I'll be frank, he was a horseshit ref."
I don't give a shit what the hive mind thinks. I don't give a shit.
But Carrie Fraser said, actually, Dvorsky's wrong. I think Warren's a great ref. So you have divided opinions.
Wow.
I bet
The first ever documented, you should hang that in a museum. The first ever documented NHL ref disagreement.
Yeah, they never disagree publicly. By the way, in that case where the NHL and Dean Warren went head to head because Dean went to the Ontario Supreme Court and said, I should be reinstated. I was just looking it up while you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
It went to the Supreme Court in
Wow.
2016.
Now-
that carried on for about a decade.
Didn't Angel Hernandez's case also go to the Supreme
Yes,
Court?
it did.
Yeah, there's precedence.
Well, now here's the thing. So Angel Hernandez was like, the MLB has not let me umpire a World Series in a number of years. This is racial discrimination. And it went to court and everything. And what came out of it was, no, we just don't think you're very good.
They pulled in the cart, when you got a substitute teacher and you're going to watch a movie that
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
It's like the MLB pulled in that cart with the TV on it,
Yeah.
plugged in Aaron Hernandez, Angel Hernandez's videotape of all his calls, and the judge was like, okay, yeah, those are bad.
Yeah. No, this is the equivalent of if during that lawsuit you found an email from the commissioner saying, I don't want I don't want Angel Hernandez to umpire the World Series because of his ethnic background.
Yeah. This would be the equivalent of them finding that email.
You have this guy dead to rights, red-handed, hand in the cookie jar, fucking guilty, trying to ruin a ref's career because he dared call penalties against his son and showing bias against a player who was injured and then didn't punish the guy who injured him. And over a decade has passed. He's now in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Look at that.
Everyone involved should be fucking ashamed of themselves.
No.
And banned from the committee.
It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give him the highest honor in the sport.
I think
You watered down the Hockey Hall of Fame today.
But
Watered
McGinley
it
did
down.
nothing.
Yeah.
McGinley did nothing to deserve to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
I want to
Yeah.
throw one.
You made the Hockey Hall of Fame mean less today. With inducting Colin Campbell, you made the Hockey Hall of Fame mean less. You disgraced everyone who's in that thing. You ought to be ashamed.
Couldn't agree more.
Drew's going to kill us if we don't do this. Quick thoughts on the Ducks and Kings jerseys.
Slaps.
Thumbs up, both of them.
Thumbs up?
Yeah.
I say thumbs up, Kings. Ducks, I'm not sold on.
Why?
I love the logo. The orange doesn't do it for me.
Nah, commit to a color. Commit to a color.
I don't like the orange. I don't like the orange.
I understand.
They play in Orange County.
Yeah, I know.
It's so fitting.
Well, listen, if they promise me they're going to do shiny orange helmets, like the Kings do shiny silver ones,
No,
I'm in. But that Kings jersey is
The
fucking
Kings
awesome.
went with matte black for the helmets, which is really cool.
That is cool too.
Yeah. I think there's so little orange in the league. Like, what did you want them to do? Go to black again? With
I
another
think
team?
I would have liked to see them go back to the 90s colors. I thought the teal and the white and that sort of thing, very California.
Orange is Cali too.
Okay.
I think you're hating.
It's a bold color. Like if
I just think
everyone
it's ugly.
buys
I
the
don't know.
jersey, if everyone buys the jersey, their home games are going to look.
That's yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to, the one thing about it is, isn't it Trevor Zegras they put in that jersey?
yeah, and he looked thrilled.
And he's going to be traded in like 2 minutes. I
Yeah,
think that's
shut
hilarious.
up.
Yeah, he's going to Montreal. Come on.
Shut
we all
up.
know that.
There's Tamu holding the jersey.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I'm still a Kings all the way on this one.
Like, I think, like, all credit to them for going for a bold color. Like,
Yeah.
I'm on that side.
Yeah.
And like their new slogan, you're entering Orange County or whatever it is. I think that's their new slogan. I forget. It's off the top of my head.
What's like
that's,
Gandalf at the gates here?
that's like a double entendre.
No, it should be quacking the code.
Don't flock with us.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's wild.
Thank
That's
you.
a good one.
Thank you.
I had a friend point out to me that the Kings logo looks like the Chevrolet logo.
It does. It 100%.
Yeah, but it
does.
always has.
It always
Yeah,
has. It's still
but
good.
Chevrolet came first, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Whatever.
Get sponsored by him.
I guess.
Yeah.
That'd be funny
Because it'd be
then it's
silver
just
and
the
gold.
same-
Because the Chevy
yeah.
one's gold. Right? You know?
So I thought that was kind of funny.
Anyway, should we end this show?
No, and another thing.
Should we end it with a super slow thing?
Sure,
Is the bit rate changed on
Sample rate, no.
sample rate?
Yeah, no, it'll be super slow. Yeah.
It's really slow. Anyway, we'll be back. Draft stream tomorrow night. Look out for that new CJ show. It's out and it's beautiful. So is the new Agent Provocateur with Alan, obviously, and Philip Ronick. And of course, we have free agency on Monday.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.